Go.
Yeah. All right, we are live. If you are in the green room for StreamYard, please exit. You got the wrong link. Please exit. It was a mistake. And join us on Facebook Live.
And put the oxygen mask on yourself before you help anyone else.
We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch. We are everywhere right now. And we are
where all the cool kids are.
Bring some heat. Bring some heat. Hey, Dooley, if you could exit the green room, that would be great. So, all right, never mind. I went ahead and handled it. So,
You feel like a field goal punter? Don't you feel like just kicking people out of the room?
Dude, I mean, when 4 or 5 people come in all at the same time, wow. What's up, Doug Walls? Doug Walls is in the house.
But it's spelt wrong.
I know. I talked to him the other day and I said, dude, like, wow.
So I noticed that Adam Broker left me out of the conversation when he said hello, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Pretty wrong of him.
So
pretty wrong.
Glenn Morshower is getting to his computer. Doug says wrong. Really? So I mean, it is kind of spelled.
Hey, Doug, can you open up Google or anything? Type it. Go to Microsoft Word. Let's do that. Type in WALZ and see if it underlines red. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, I think I just really messed up something, man. I think everybody that comes in is now going to have to authenticate with Facebook, and that could be a challenge for some people.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah.
Yes. See, Walls spelt wrong is safe. You're safe out there.
So
you're safe because in here we're trapped now.
And just so everybody listen, if you're in the StreamYard green room and you're not one of the original guests that were invited, you accidentally were sent the wrong link. So please join us over on Facebook and leave the StreamYard green room. Thank you. So
this is great.
No, it's not great. It's
Bad News Bears Part 2.
What happens is once we get too many people in the green room, our original guests can't get on because it says that it's full.
Right.
So I don't know how that link got shared out, but wow.
We're just demonstrating to the rest of the world on how we handle adversity.
Hey, Dooley, can you hear me, Dooley?
Well said, Bob. Well said.
Yeah, if you could leave, you've got the wrong link. This is for the original 6 guests. If you could join us on Facebook, leave the green room, leave the StreamYard, leave this and go over to Facebook.
Get out.
I can't. Here, hold on. Go ahead. If you could go ahead and just join us over on Facebook. I don't know how you got the StreamYard link, but this was for 6. It only allows 6 people.
Okay.
But it was great seeing you, bro.
Awesome seeing you, man. There we go. That was the handling of adversity. Fourth time. Wow. So there's more people.
We're you vaping.
We are this morning.
Hold on. Who wants? I can't keep saying it. Joe, you say it, man. There's somebody else.
Hi, for all of you that are in the green room, you have received the wrong link. Please exit the StreamYard application and head right on over to Facebook where we are live and everyone's listening to this message too. If Ken puts you on, you'll be instantly embarrassed with the actual picture of yourself sitting there.
Just start blasting them out in front of America. In front of
here you are.
Watch. Adam Broker says what? We'll have several thousand.
I can hear him, Bob. Yeah.
You can?
Yeah, you have this whole one person you always isolate and say you can't hear.
I hear everybody except him now.
Who?
Right. Christopher.
Christopher. I don't hear Christopher.
You can't hear me?
That's so weird.
All right. So Bob, you'll need to leave and come back, bro.
Oh, that'll never happen. There's 12 people in the green room.
I was the first one in. I'm not leaving.
I know, but you can't hear Christopher. What?
I'll
Shall
do
I
sign
kick
language.
Bob from the studio?
I think Christopher muted me.
No, I can hear
No.
you totally. You just said Christopher muted me. No.
Oh, he left. Now he's mad. Now look, you guys ticked off Bob. Way to go. I'm just kidding. So
Bob says, if that's the way Christopher's going to be, I'm not coming on. Wow.
And then there was
all
three.
right. So hey, everybody, this is a little bit crazy. I've
And
never.
if you're watching
ever-
us on Facebook, please stay.
please
Everybody
stay.
else who's in the green room, please exit. The wrong link
Adam,
was sent out.
Look, Adam
This is
said.
actually scripted. We're
Glenn-
actually scripted this for you guys, just for your entertainment before we get into some serious matters. So just bear with us.
Oh my gosh,
This is
crazy.
all planned.
This is
all
not planned. They're lying. It's not
This is
planned.
all planned.
Unless they're
Part of the
setting
new
me
movie.
up.
It's a Glenn
Holy
Morshower
crap.
movie. That's what it is. It's a comedy. It's a Glenn Morshower comedy. No, there's nothing funny about what we're going to be talking about. That's for sure.
Right.
Oh my god.
Look, I'm looking for my note card, and it says send wrong link. So
Send
we're right
wrong
on schedule.
Look, the green room had no
Carrie,
snack.
excellent point. Excellent point, Carrie. Hi, Sherry Gideons and Gorgeous Pam.
Carrie.
Hello.
Oh my god. Unbelievable.
Jeffrey said sorry for crashing
okay.
the green rooms.
We have Glenn and Bob.
The Glenn and Bob Show.
The Glenn and Bob show.
Better than the Neil Bob Show. Well, depending on who you are.
Okay, so who else do we have? Hey, Jeff Perkins, you were sent the wrong link. If you would leave and go join us on Facebook, we're live on Facebook. All right,
Can you
so
hear me now, Bob? Can you hear me, Bob?
Bob,
can't
can
hear
you
you now.
hear Christopher talking?
oh Bob, we can't hear you now, man.
Seriously, Bob. There's no noise from you, Bob. Bob fell asleep driving. Stop it.
Hey, JD, you were given the wrong link. If you could exit the green room on StreamYard and go over to Facebook, somebody sent out the StreamYard
I
link.
think I am the somebody, Ken.
Yeah, I think. Eldana, if you could join us on Facebook and not on StreamYard, there's only room for 6 people. My apologies. The wrong link went out.
When you said don't share it, you said LOL. I thought that meant you were kidding with don't share it.
No, I actually meant, yeah. What happens is this only allows up to 10 people in the green room, basically.
Understood.
So when I came on, there were literally 10 people. I had no idea who they were, and Bob.
Yeah, they were mine.
But that's how you and I met last night. I just showed up and you're like, who are you?
Yeah,
And here we are. I mean, isn't that amazing? I
Here
love
we are.
life.
Bob, do we have you,
You
Bob?
guys are funny.
Robert
got it.
Shallow's comment.
Thank you for
That needs to
putting
go
that
on the
spin
screen.
on it, Chris.
We
What was
got
that?
it.
What was that, Glenn?
I just said thank you for putting that spin on it.
Yeah, life is life. That's what we deal with. And that's what we're kind of talking about here is just how to deal with life and how to deal with uncertainty and kind of just be a voice of reason a little bit and just kind of share some perspectives.
Right. Well, if you want computer imperfection and lack of expertise, I'm your guy.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah,
question
that was
about
fun.
that.
One.
That's so
But
funny.
I'm assuming if I put you guys in, in a movie, it might be a little weird for you too. So,
That's
We
right.
just, we just said
That's
this is a
right.
new Glenn Morshower movie.
We figured this was a test you were giving us as an interview.
I
Mhm.
feel like I am in a Glenn Morshower movie.
why is that?
We are.
I was just hey, Alan Skidmore. Sorry you were given the wrong link. My apologies. If you
Who's
could join
behind
us
you,
over
Glenn?
on Facebook, that would be great.
Glenn, there's somebody behind you.
That would be great.
Or is that a figment of my
Big
imagination?
mini, right? Yes.
That would be Carolyn.
Hi, Carolyn.
So,
What? Hello.
hey, Carolyn.
Miss you.
Do you guys know if Carolyn's with Glenn? Does anybody know that?
I know the whole story.
Hey, we have somebody hanging out in the green room. Alan, if you can hear me, If you would
Alan,
leave-
please exit the green room. The wrong link was sent. Please pop on over to Facebook and view us there. Thank you
There
and
we
travel
go. That was
safe in
nice.
your
That was
digital
nice.
journey.
he's
So-
gone. Wow, all it took was Joe.
Right. I'm very offensive. It's a
I
gift.
just can't be an
I don't want
asshole.
the bandana,
I'm sorry.
the bandana and the tattoos. I should be
Robert
the
Shallow wants to be in a movie, Glenn. Where's the audition? That was just that just popped up.
Bill
Who
said
knows?
we're not
Glenn
that
already
funny.
promised me the next part.
Oh my gosh. This is funny. So
All right, well, let's get on topic since they're
yeah.
and I will reach out to my Facebook group and let people know that I've had a colossal mistake here.
Oh
Sharing is caring, Glenn. Don't apologize for sharing.
yeah, don't apologize.
Well,
It was a nice intro.
Caroline, be careful.
I think it's going to be better than last night because at least I'm on with you guys, and I will now.
Where did Bob go? Oh, he's back.
Bob had to sneeze.
What about Bob? He had to sneeze. Bob, what's
What?
happening?
Good, man.
Hi,
Hey,
Bob.
How are you?
We hear you, Bob.
Joe, can you make the announcement, please, for someone in the green room named Craig?
Hello, Craig. You were inadvertently sent the wrong link. Please hop on over to Facebook and follow us there. Please be safe on your digital journey.
So on Facebook, just send them to where on Facebook? Each of our individual accounts, or what?
No, to the where I tagged everybody on a Facebook post. I don't know if you shared that to your Facebook post or not.
I guess I didn't because I sent what you said to me when you said LOL. I thought you were. This is why Joe last night was spot on when he talked about intent and interpretation.
I totally agree.
You know, that I thought you were joking, like, don't tell anybody that we're doing this. I thought you were kidding with me, like, tell everybody. So
Oh
you
my
just-
God. And I think you did.
Yes. Glenn sent out
It's all good.
4,000
It is
I
all
was-
correct
good.
messages.
I was saying, honestly, it was an inside joke where it got shared out before like that. And so I said LOL because I knew that Bob and Joe would understand why I said LOL, not even thinking like, yeah. So see, my fault. I just sent you the link to the actual video in Messenger, Glenn.
Right.
And you can share that right there. Click on that and then go to it and share it out.
It's
Okay.
been 2
Lorraine
minutes.
says
So for those of you
she
in the green room,
found
the
it
wrong link
on
was sent.
Ken Wall's page.
She said Ken Wells. I don't know Ken Wells. Who's Ken Wells?
Right.
Oh, Jay Willick just said I can send people to my Facebook Messenger, so that's good.
Flo, I have a little timer on my phone right now because Flo said I need to just keep this continuously going as a message.
Yes.
So every
Yeah.
2 minutes, I'm just going to say, hi, for those of you in the green room, the wrong link was sent. Please follow us on Facebook. Please exit the green room. Leave all the M&Ms.
The white zone is for unloading and loading. And
Okay,
So-
so I just put it on my page. and
Yes,
that-
it was
and that
verified
should-
by somebody else too.
It was
Doug,
okay.
Carrie Graves.
Doug Walls, who spells his name wrong. According
That's,
to
that's
Joe,
brilliant. Doug, that is brilliant.
yeah, it
True.
shows the power of a good list, even if you have the wrong info.
Well, it
Let's
tells
see.
you who the real influencer is because I sent it out to everybody too. And nobody came on.
Not one person said.
Not one person said, hey, let's jump on Joe's.
So Lorraine, I forgive. I'm just playing. So Pamela Aubrey says,
yeah,
this is great. I'm getting a ton of planning done while not listening. LOL. So all right, let's talk about what are we talking about? Christopher,
The green room?
started us.
Oh.
No, I do not want to talk about the green room anymore.
Okay.
I've never felt so horrible. I've had to bounce about 15 people out of the green room. I felt terrible. So, Christopher, you started off with some good stuff, man. Do you want to repeat that?
Sure. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you guys so much for being here as a part of this opportunity just to come to you guys live and bring some authentic, real, genuine speak in this time of uncertainty. A lot of people are challenged right now with their mindset and where to focus and what to believe and where to go next. And the gentlemen here that I am so honored to be with are here tonight just to answer your questions and just kind of talk about different subjects and opportunities that we can do to perceive the situation differently and use it as a medium to bring the country and the world closer together through mutual understanding, because we're all going through the same thing at the same time. And so it brings us a lot closer together. And our intent here is just to help, like, bring obviously some levity, but also to answer your questions and just kind of just bring a little bit of calm and bring some advice to your life that you can run with and share out to your families.
There you go. So anybody have questions? And look, here's the other thing. So sometimes the correct information can be spread the wrong way, right? So and Glenn just said it like it's all about certainty and clarity, and I definitely wasn't clear. So my apologies for that miscommunication.
No, just a misunderstanding, and no apologies, because at the end of the day, I'm the one who screwed it up by not understanding that it wasn't, I guess, by not understanding or misunderstanding sarcasm. Anyway, let's move on, because we got a lot of ground to cover, and we got a lot of people who are anywhere from perfectly calm to completely upside down. Yeah. And people are feeling like their mental condition is unraveling. They feel like their income is shot to hell, or that their routines have been flipped upside down, which certainly they have. And we just wanted to have an open forum about that, much like we did last night. And last night was very successful, and I had a number of people reach out to me, which is why we thought we would reconvene this evening. And I am going to click on the live comments like you taught me to do last night. So I'm doing that all by myself. And I'm extremely proud of myself. Let me just mention that.
That's so awesome. And Joe, I need you to make your
Hi, for those of you in the green room, you were sent the wrong link. Please pop on over to Facebook, Glenn's Facebook, and check out the link there. Travel safely.
Lorraine Eubank, if you would, can you forward this to the Extra Mile page for me, honey? To the all pages, and kind of be my liaison to get a hold of our Extra Mile team.
So and Jay Willick says at the end of the day, we are all here. That's right. So what do you guys want to cover? I don't see any questions from anyone yet.
And I know they're out there. So
what questions do anybody listening right now? What are you struggling with in the current state of affairs? What are you struggling with? What can we help you with? Watching you guys clear out the green room is making me feel better about myself already.
Lorraine says someone mentioned we all have to adjust. This was from last night. Being with people more now, our families. For me, my work is having me come into the office, and it's a ghost yard. I'm dealing with isolation. And then she said, yes, the link would be sent. Thoughts on that, guys?
I will tell you, I enjoy flying solo. So to me, I don't have the isolation feel. To me, that when they put it out there, I was like, hey, this is my normal weekend. I'm just going to sit at home by myself. So I think the biggest thing that's coming from all of this is that it's a change or an adaptation to what we normally do. And a lot of people have issues with the change itself, where it may not necessarily be of the fact that, again, the office is empty. That is true. But there's been times before where I've gone in the middle of the night to go to work so that the office would be empty. So I think if we reframe it to say I'm just in a different hour, to look at it and say, hey, this is what I'm here to do. And I did it to make sure there was peace and quiet so I can focus.
Awesome.
And I would to speak to the isolation part. That can happen for multiple different reasons based on wherever your focus is. But number one and first and foremost is making sure that you're getting outside every day and you're getting sunshine and you're getting that oxygen, maybe doing a little bit of exercise, but also just kind of remaining in contact with what ignites you, what keeps you passionate will help drive the time by if you're feeling isolated in those things. And of course, jumping online, watching a cool comedy or something like that, chatting with a friend. And another thing you could do is actually just take whatever it is that you're blessed with, your God-given gift, and go share that with other people, because other people are feeling isolated too. So when you band together, then you guys kind of break that up, you make new friends, and out of all of this, then you have something positive to say that this happened and you got this out of it.
And if you focus on somebody else, you tend to not focus on yourself.
Right.
It's the same thing when you're going to go speak someplace. If you were actually focusing on the audience and what they're going to get away from whenever you're talking about, then you tend to lose the nervousness about, am I going to screw up? And so again, we've all done this. We've all got lost in our work where we didn't even realize how the time flew by. And so you just shift the focus from, okay, I'm here by myself, to, hey, this is what I have to get done. And if this is what I got to get done, then you focus, get lost in the zone, and run with it from there.
Joe, I need you to make your
Yes.
green room.
Hi, for those of you in the green room, you've been given the wrong link. Please pop on over to facebook.com and watch us there. Safe travels. I'm gonna go pull up the way to say it in Spanish for like at Disneyland.
I'm gonna have
lados, por favor.
I
Yes,
feel
second
really
behind.
bad banning people from the green room, but I'm gonna have to, because we're expecting one other person in here soon.
And I told him to message me when he comes up so that we could at least say he's coming.
Is Bill joining us?
No, Joe Soto. And actually he was on a stage with you recently at some event.
Oh, nice.
Well, he was on the same stage you were. He was there in the morning. You spoke in the afternoon, I believe.
But he gained a lot and was excited to meet you. So
Well, ships passing in the night so often is the case in the speaker world, as we know. You know, I think the original idea behind this gathering was to offer from a panel, I don't want to say a panel of experts, but a panel of inspirational gentlemen who make helping others their primary commitment in life, and group them together to see in order to help people with their level of comfort in dealing with these very, very sudden and severe changes. Above all, I know that people are dealing with environmental shock. People are in sensory deprivation from what their picture of normal looks like. My version of normal is dramatically altered to how I normally spend my life, which includes tremendous amount of travel and being on the move and running a studio here in Dallas and shooting a television series in Atlanta. Our show is shut down, as all production has shut down around the world now. And that's something that's never occurred. And there's a laundry list of things that have never occurred in our lifetime. And that can be anywhere from a little bit to completely overwhelming, depending on your emotional and spiritual wiring. And that's really what my contribution to this is to help offer thoughts about how to remain stable during this time. And it's interesting that while it could be the opinion of the masses that the world is declining, what if during this decline you could simply play your part, do what authorities are suggesting is correct to do, and at the same time, on your own private schedule, be building yourself up, right? Building your life up, instead of going down and co-signing the agreement to go down the drain with, with this collective vibration of doomsday and Armageddon. I believe that we can find a way to hunker down and really live life moments at a time and not try to consider the entirety of what we're facing right now, because frankly, I think it's overwhelming. So you give yourself a task and address that task. And one of the tasks at hand might be something as simply as being still and breathing, followed by feeling, just feeling and admitting what you're feeling and not running from it, which I think is what got us into trouble in the first place, is running from feelings, running from each other, disconnecting. And so now we are being forced globally into a time of connection, albeit not in person, because of germs, but to still reach out heart to heart, much the same way that 9/11 affected us. And the simple task, I know that right before I came on tonight, I was out for about a 2-mile walk, and there was no one on the street. We saw one person, and I greeted that person from, probably 40 feet away and across the street, and said what I've been saying to all people all week, which is good health to you and your loved ones. And that way, loved ones means blood and non-blood, but just telling people, good health to you. And every person I've said that to stopped in their tracks. This is really key, because I think it illustrates where our minds and our hearts are right now, because they didn't keep walking. They stopped and they looked and they said, thank you. And they said, you too. And that response never varied. Every single person stopped. So clearly what is going on is something that is affecting us, that is moving us to our core. And we have a role to play on this, and blowing off its seriousness, I personally think, is not the answer. And it's going to elongate the chapter of its presence. So I think it might just be that we are going to have to shut down, as we are seeing. That doesn't mean shut down our feelings, certainly not shut down our humanity, not shut down who it is we are, and it also may simply be a time of loss. But if we're in loss together, somehow there's evenness in that. I mentioned last night that I think this chapter is activating compassion, and I think it's all about what we focus on. We're going to see the oddball cases of anger. We're going to see the oddball cases of outrage, but we don't want to join in on that bandwidth, because that's up to us. It's up to us to decide how healthy we wish to remain mentally. And honestly, that's my greater concern for our world, is the possibility that this is rolling over into becoming a mental virus, which that we have total control over. I know we have some measure of control over the physical virus by following these protocols and by staying apart, practicing the social distancing, staying in the comfort of your home, holding the belief that this too shall pass. Like Joe said to us last night, everything we've ever been through in our lives, what we all have in common is we got through it. You know how we know? Because we're still here.
Yep.
I thought you stated that beautifully last night, Joe. Anyway, that's my 2 cents, and we want to answer some of these questions that are scrolling across the screen.
And Joe, please make your announcement.
I can do that. Hi, for those of you in the green room, the wrong link was inadvertently sent out. Please head over to Facebook and participate with us there. Por favor, salgan de la reunión y vienos por el link en Facebook en vivo.
Bravo.
Boom. Thank you. I'm going to give props to Luigi, who sent it to me.
Luigi?
Luigi. Yes.
Luigi sent you a thing in Spanish, huh?
Yeah. He said, dude, I sent it to you in the DM so you can read it off. So
that is so funny.
I feel like I work at Disneyland in the Matterhorn. I'm so excited.
Joe, tú eres mi hermano de corazón y usted tiene un garganta de jirafa. Do you know what I just said?
Something about my mom, I think.
I said you're the brother of my heart and you have the neck of a giraffe.
That's probably true. See that? Yes. But that's because you've elevated me so much in my thinking.
That is so funny. So I'm looking for a comment that I had up a second ago. Give me
Yes,
one.
it said, how do you keep yourself motivated?
Motivated to
Yeah.
keep going
Karen,
in
Karen
business.
Strauss. Hi, Karen. Yeah, Karen Strauss had a comment up there about how do you keep yourself motivated to do business? And my question would be, why wouldn't you be motivated to do business?
Right.
Obviously, whatever product that you have, this is an opportune time to like hunker down and like do some revisions, do some remodeling on it, pitch it to different types of people, do some focus groups. Do it, whatever it is that you're going to be doing. Look at this as an opportunity to enhance your product or your services, double down on your investment in yourself and your training. And then you come out of this all the much better, all the much more confident. And your focus is on something positive versus all the bullshit in the news and literally on Facebook too. That would be my recommendation. Just keep the bigger purpose in mind and know that that life is full of peaks and valleys. And right now we're in one of these kind of things. And those are the opportunities there where we grow and we learn and we become stronger and we get insight into what makes us really, truly happy and fulfilled in this life. And then when you get back up to that peak, you look back at that valley and you're like, man, it's a beautiful view from up here. And I'm so glad I got to go through that because I wouldn't be here without that. And I think that's one of the central focuses tonight that we're trying to get across as well. So I would say just dig your heels in and just look at this as an opportunity to spend more time on your business, revamping things and coming out with a Karen Strauss 12.0 or something like that.
And this is a really strong spiritual practice, but would be to just be present and only do each thing. This is what I meant by incrementalizing. So for example, for those of you that are on with us, for whatever amount of time you stay here, try this as an experiment. Try only doing this. Try that and watch what happens. Don't do anything else. If you only have 5 minutes, then do that. If you want to spend 35 minutes with us, however long you want to be here, but don't be trying to do a bunch of different things. And if you need to do dinner, go make dinner. And when you're done, come sit down and only do this. If you're going to sit down and have dinner, only be present with your kids. We do not do this nearly enough in our world, and we are running into a major speed bump as a result of it. So incrementalizing 5 and 10 minutes at a time, even more if you can, but just being present. And that includes with feelings, Karen. So for example, if you're feeling unmotivated, I actually think it's okay to grant yourself, albeit a small slice of time, to grant yourself a 15-minute period or 30 to feel unmotivated and know that that's okay. Just to admit, I don't feel great about what's happening. Well, guess what? Nor does anybody, right? And then what happens is by facing those feelings, we allow that emotional storm to pass through, right? And we keep our windows open so that those feelings don't hang out. They come through, we fully feel them. This is what I coach in my workshop, is about fully feeling your feelings. Because when we run from them or we cling to them, then those feelings own us. But if we just allow them and admit, it's strange. The same is true about nervousness. So give me a moment to speak to this, because it really happens with actors. And that is that with actors and even with speakers, so often they talk about how do you handle the nervousness on stage, right? Or to get up in front of a lot of people. And the idea is that nerves have never derailed anyone's talk, but rather our opinion about those nerves and seeing those nerves as an adversary, right? And this is no different. So this is very mental about how we perceive it. And if we understand that those nerves are fueling us, then we befriend the nerves. And so if you're feeling unmotivated, I think it's okay, this is just my personal take on it, to befriend that feeling for a little while and tell it, talk to it out loud, which I really believe in the power of the spoken word, to say, I'm going to visit with this unmotivated side of me. I'm going to have it speak to whatever part of me it wants to talk to, and I'm going to give it 30 minutes to speak its piece. And I'm going to listen attentively. I'm going to learn from it. And then I'm going to scoot it on out of here and start creating during this time that is unparalleled, because we've never been given a time where we can really focus and button down the hatch and think very clearly within a distraction-free environment about who it is we are in the first place and where it is we want to go from here and what comes next. And we're in this one big canoe together. Nobody's rowing it alone. And I know that there are those who feel that way, but it's important to make the distinction between fact and feeling. That's just a feeling. That is not a fact. Man, we have never been in a canoe together with our brothers and sisters from other countries in history like we are now. We have been thrown into a global canoe. And it's up to us how well we row together. And if we're rowing together, we will row synchronistically. We will move forward. But if we start rowing chaotically, then we're going to spin around. They taught us that in the Boy Scouts. You can't have someone on the other side of the boat rowing in the opposite direction because the boat just spins.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that we see that in our society. We've got to get on the same page.
Well said, Glenn. Beautifully said. Big time.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask everybody that got the wrong link to just share this out, because I think that's going to be like 300 shares right there. But everybody needs to just go click share on the post and send it out there, because there's other people out there that are in your network that need to know the information that Glenn just shared.
Amen.
So,
The reason that I want us to do this, gentlemen, and everyone watching, is honestly, I am CNN'd out.
True that.
I am CNN.
Negative news.
I have watched so much CNN, and God bless them. There is nothing wrong with CNN. But, I mentioned last night that we can even OD on water. And, so CNN is water, and too much water can kill you. So I don't want to be watching CNN obsessively. And frankly, as a viewer, I will tell you, both as a participant and a viewer, I would rather be watching this, because CNN, you're not going to be able to offer a question and send it right in to the people that are on screen and know that they are looking at it and will talk back with you. So I'm both enjoying doing this, and I would, if I were you, enjoy being on the receiving end of it. This is exactly the kind of format that I think is very good for our world at this time, and I am willing to be as available for it as I can be, which is a lot. I'm working on 3 hours sleep, and I don't even feel it. I don't feel it at all, because I'm Johnny Jacked Up.
Johnny Jacked Up.
And
I love
Rebecca,
alliteration, baby.
Rebecca, The Matrix was a documentary. I'm just going to throw it out there.
So,
Okay.
yeah, Bob Donnell is in the house, and he is sitting there, and we all know that this is probably one of the wisest men that I've ever known. Bob, what do you have to say about some of this stuff?
Well, I would concur with everything that's been said so far. I think from the human behavior standpoint, I just look at it and say we all have been put in a gym, and some of us will just go and take a shower and call it a day, and some of us will sit on a treadmill, stand on a treadmill, and
I'm going to take selfies.
jog along. And some of us will maybe do a rowing machine. And some of us are going to say, you know what? I need to do some heavy lifting. And I think right now the time for us to grow is going to be doing the heavy lifting. We're going to have to do the hard right over the easy wrong. And we're going to have to start setting ourselves up to win. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to be willing to lift a little bit heavier weight than we've been lifting, and stop taking the easy way out, and stop making excuses. Don't let the virus become the excuse. Don't let our cat throwing up become the excuse, or our handbag getting wet. We got to start taking this serious. And this is what's going to happen is, as we do this, what we're going to do is we're going to see what we're really made of, and we're going to grow. And some of us are going to walk out of here so much stronger, so much better, and so much more equipped to impact the world in a bigger and more meaningful way. And some of us will just go back into the comfort zone that we had before, and that would just melt into oblivion. And I challenge each of us to step up and start lifting some heavier weights.
We have this collective, beautifully said, Bob. We have this collective phrase that I've heard frankly my whole life, which is, if I just had time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How many years have we been inundated with, if I just had time, man, I'd love to have the time to do that. Well, you have the time. We got nothing but time right now to do all those things we said we would do if we had time. So were we bullshitting ourselves and anyone who was willing to listen to us by shooting off our mouths about all the things we wish we had time to do? Because that time is here. And although it has been granted us against our collective will, it's still here. And the how we got here is not as important as the what we do with it. Because we're here.
Glenn, you said something last night that I would love to hear you expand on, because most people are worried about money, not having enough money, right?
Yeah.
Been there a million times myself. And you said, something to the extent of, having a lot of money definitely is not the answer to all of your problems. And I don't remember exactly how you put it, but I would love to have you, because I think there are 93 people watching right now, which is amazing, by the way. Thank you to everyone who shared this out, because Glenn Morshower, Bob Donnell, and Christopher Roush are very smart guys.
And then there's me. I'm here for eye candy and comedic relief. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you rock, Joe. Incognito Joe.
Don't expect a lot from me. Glenn doesn't want me to make fun of things because he said that earlier, but I can't promise anything.
Did I say that?
You said you don't want people to make light of the situation and do things.
No, I don't.
That's all I do.
All I'm saying is this, Joe. I don't want people to underestimate the capacity for damage that this can offer. I simply think we need to be on our toes, not afraid, on our toes, mindful, not be stupid. I want to quote Ernie Hudson. And Ernie Hudson, I don't know how many of you know who Ernie is, but Ernie is a remarkable character actor. You would know him best from the Ghostbusters. Ernie right now he's been around as long as I have. He's a little bit older, but Ernie and I, despite our difference in appearance, we are in the same 8 to 10 year age range, and therefore we read over the years for a lot of the same roles. And I would run into Ernie quite often. Well, I was the person who the heavens allowed me to play the role of shoehorn Ernie into the speaking world. And he was curious because I would see him at Comic-Cons quite often. And I'll move this story along to tell you, why did I bring up Ernie? Well, I had Ernie, when he was at the Dallas Comic-Con, come speak to our studio. And here's a great piece of sage wisdom from Ernie Hudson. He was asked about the life of an actor and his advice to all these younger actors in my studio, a little over 100 of them. And here's what Ernie had to say. He said, our lives go up and they go down. There are busy stretches and there are silent stretches. And there's usually more quiet than busy. And you don't want to get too high on the ups and you don't want to get too low on the downs. But what I have found, and I'm speaking for Ernie said, what I think is key is to not do anything stupid during the downtime.
Wow.
I think it's friggin' genius.
Yeah.
Because most anyone can handle the top of the mountain where everything is cake, or the icy calm lake to water ski on. We're all good at handling easy, or at least most people. There are those who specialize even in screwing up easy. That's a special skill. But the vast majority of people handle life well when life is easy. But what do you do when your gut feeling feels that it's almost personal? And I say almost because it never is that. It seems it. It does seem it at times that life has some sort of personal vendetta. But when we feel like we're getting our ass kicked, it's time to just make sure that we don't do anything stupid. And as long as we can just avoid stupid choices, we usually get back on top of the mountain fairly soon. And certainly I know this much. We get back there way sooner than if we do stupid shit while laying in the valley.
I got to tell you guys, and I want to bring this up. It's a touchy topic, but I want to bring it up. I had a friend of mine is the director of the suicide hotline for the state of Ohio. and reached out to me today to talk about, you know, what I do, so getting them some training. And you know, he said right now is the busiest they've ever been. And so there are people, there are people, you know, and Joe likes to deflect with humor.
True statement. Thank you, Your Honor.
But I'm kidding. There are people hurting. There are people really, really significantly in pain and are literally thinking about ending their precious life. And, you know, I was talking to somebody today and I said, you know, there's a 1 in 400 trillion chance of being born. 1 in 4, like the odds of winning the lottery are like 1 in 260 million. I don't know how many times that goes into 400 trillion, but it's a lot. Like you're not supposed to be here, and yet here you are, and thinking about ending it after the fight. And Glenn, you talked about this last night, the fight of the sperm and the egg coming together and everything that had to happen in the cell reproduction and everything that had to occur scientifically and spiritually to make you, and you're considering ending your life. And that's just such a terrible place to be, because this too shall pass.
Well, we have a qualified man amongst us here who specializes in suicide prevention, and it's not me. I'm a good helper, and I offer a lot of helpful information, but I'm not the expert that my brother Bob Donnell is. And he has devoted his life to intervening when times were really desperate. And I would love for us to kind of turn this part over to Bob Donnell, because he can reach out and make a difference in the lives of people who feel like this is the end for them.
Bob, what you know, what do you have to say for, because it's not, most people don't pick up the phone and call somebody, right? They don't pick up the phone and call and talk about that. So what
Right.
would you say to somebody struggling right now, having those thoughts?
Well, I'm going to give some insight that'll help, and thank you, Glenn, for those words. I appreciate that. One of the things there's a term. I appreciate that. I love you, brother.
Love you too, buddy.
You know, LODI, LODI, and the law of diminishing intent, which states the distance between the time of decision and the time of action will determine the likelihood it'll ever occur. If you say, I'm going to start going to the gym next month, likelihood of going to the gym is not very much. Next week, not very much. Tomorrow, better, but still a lot can happen in a day. And then you go, I'm going to go to the gym right now. Boom. The distance between time of decision, time of action determines the likelihood it'll ever occur. LODI. So what I say is when I'm working with someone who is contemplating suicide, my goal is not to get them to say, I'm not going to commit suicide. My goal is to get them to say, I'm not going to commit suicide right now. So if you're contemplating suicide or you're contemplating doing anything in a negative form, I would suggest to yourself to say, okay, I'm just not going to do it today. Today, I can always do it tomorrow if I'm really dead set on doing it. But right now, I'm just going to say not today. And I think when we start helping people just realize that, let's just give some space in between time of thought or decision and time of action, we're actually helping LODI work for us instead of against us. Because it works against us when we say we're going to go to the gym next week. It works against us when we say we're going to invest in this program or we're going to go back to school. It works against us when we created a long period of time between decision and action. It works for us when we do that for the benefit. And so that would be the first thing, is get it in your mind that it's just not today, that we're going to do something later. And then in between that time, how do we help that person? Well, look, when somebody calls and says, Bob, and I've had this happen many times, Bob, I'm going to kill myself. And I say, how are you going to do that? Because one, we want to ascertain how viable it is right this second. And they go, I'm going to shoot myself. And you say, do you have a gun? Yes. Where is it? Because see, they may have a gun, but it may be in their car, maybe at another beach, at their house or whatever. Where is it? It's in my hand. Okay. Now we have a threat that we need to do one thing, and that is to create space in between decision and action. And so the first thing we want to do is, could we just set the gun down? Could you just put the gun? Let's create a space between where the gun is and where we want it eventually. We want it gone. But right now, can we just put the gun down? And what we're doing now is we're lessening the likelihood that it's going to occur that minute. And now we're starting to create a gap in between decision and action. And so that's my goal as an interventionist. And the interventionist doesn't have to be suicide. It could be just somebody who says, I need to lose weight, but I keep eating. I need to stop spending, but I keep spending. Let's just create a gap in between the decisions and the actions. And I think that's going to be the greatest thing that we can do for ourselves when we want to change a behavior, create Lodi working for us instead of against us. And when we want to help someone else, I think that's going to be one of the biggest things we can do. Help them create a gap for themselves and help us help them create a gap.
So Sharon Gilstrap is on here, Bob, and she said that her son attempted suicide last week. After a week in the hospital and surgeries, I have to tell everyone it's a horrible reaction to a temporary situation. Keep in mind, everything is temporary. Bad times don't last. Good times will surely come. And God, my heart goes out to you, Sharon. And I honestly, it just choked me up like that. That's I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. So, God, reach if you're feeling.
I'm glad he's still with us. I'm glad
Yes.
the son's still with us. That's what I'm going to say.
Indeed.
And there's a chance to start over and move it on. I have a friend has his own association as well because his son did that at like the age of 13, and so it's still alive, still with us, but nowhere what he was before. But I'll mention something about it. I'm not Bob Janelle by any means. He knows this inside and out. But I will tell you that we all get these jacked up thoughts that pop into our head from time to time. And anybody who spends any time around me will know this about me, because out of nowhere, I just go cancel. Right. And I've taught my kids the same thing. I'm like, just because a bad thought comes in doesn't mean you got to give it the power to affect your mood or to move forward with it. So I just say cancel. They do the same things. They walk around, they'll say something, all of a sudden you go cancel, because it's again, if we go into it, your brain came up with something to trigger a chemical to go into your body because your body's asking for it. And so if we teach everybody how to avoid getting sucked into that constant need for more bad chemicals and more stress, right, then you have the ability to separate yourself from the thought itself and realize it was just something that came in your head and move on.
That's
Well
beautiful.
said,
I can piggyback on that, Joe.
Always.
I want to give credit where credit is due. And there is a gentleman, one of the top 5 influencers of my life and my pathway was a gentleman named Russell Friedman. And Russell used to coach at what was called the Grief Recovery Institute in Los Angeles. And it was not for people that were merely grieving the loss of a loved one, but any one of 63 primary grieving things. And there was this list of 63 things that we grieve, and people's response to people in grief, and how the vast majority of the things that are said to people who are in grief were not helpful. And that the single worst thing happens to also be the most commonly said thing, which is, I understand. And the truth is, you don't understand, because even if we've been through something similar, it was our version of it. It wasn't their version. So for example, the loss of my brother, which was 1 year ago, the loss of my brother was the loss of my brother. It was not the loss of their brother. It was not the loss of their unique relationship. And so by saying I understand, we are denying someone the uniqueness of the power of that connection, that it stands singular in life. It's unparalleled. And we're not here to compete with who has the greater relationship. But here's what I learned from Russell. And these 5 words brought more healing into my life and have been passed on than any singular saying in all of my coaching. And here are the 5 words. That's old. I'm new, goodbye. And he used these in connection with anything he was done with, anything he was tired of, any habit that he felt was not in his best interest. If someone reached for the habit, instead of just trying to quit cold turkey, instead he would have them look at that choice that they were about to make and call it what it is, which is that's old. So this can have everything to do with stinking thinking, habitual dark thinking, or if you're going to a place that's uncomfortable during this time, to declare it to be what it is, which is that's old, meaning it's the old way. It's what I've always done in the past. Follow that up by stepping physically away from it. And what Russell said is to actually step to the side so that you're no longer occupying the physical space where you made the statement, that's old. And I'm hoping you'll get the visual here. So you stand still and say, that's old. And you look at it. Imagine that behavior or that choice or that way of being or that thought pattern. Imagine it occupying space, and you're looking at that space and saying, that's old. Now we move out of that space. We move away from it. We look straight forward and we declare, I'm new, which is not a theory. That's the actual truth. Because you know what? Right now, I'm going to look right into the camera and declare, I'm new. Watch this. I'm new again. Watch this. I'm new again. So we are as new and as updated as we choose to hit the refresh key of our lives. And the fact of the matter is, we did it effortlessly as kids. We called it Etch-a-Sketch, right? We didn't like the drawing. We simply shook it. And that's what we did. We didn't dwell on it. We didn't go around and show everybody how shitty our drawing was. You didn't want to tell everybody, hey, before I release this, I just want you to bond with me on how terrible this is. We looked at it and we went, this is out of here. And we shook it and we got rid of it. So it's that's old, step over, I'm new, followed by goodbye. When you look back at it one last time to say goodbye. And here's what Russell said, and he was spot on. This guy was a friggin' genius. He said, it will come back and knock on your door because most habits don't die quickly. They come back and knock on your door. And when they do, not if they do, when you look right at them and say, I'm old, or that's old, I'm new, goodbye. And if it knocks again, that's old, I'm new, goodbye. And just like any of you, if someone came and said, hey, anyone, Chris Roush, if I said, hey, Chris, and every time I said, hey, Chris, you looked at me and then turned around. If every time I did that, after a while, you would really get the hint that I'm done. Now, I would never do that to you. I'm speaking hypothetically, but am I wrong? You would at some point figure out that I have zero interest in dealing with you. And it turns out that habits are much the same way. They only grow if we fertilize them. So if we say that's old, it's the exact same thing Joe is saying. It's just worded differently. And I think that probably both of those methods are very effective in releasing things that we are done with. We do a let it go exercise in our workshop. We just say, let it go. And everybody in the circle says, the person who catches the ball says, done. And everyone in the group, you did this exercise with me, Chris.
I was going to say, I did that one with you.
Right?
Yeah.
So everyone in the group, right after we say done, everybody in the group says good. And it's done collectively. And it is so powerful to be surrounded by a team of people who have your back. They have your best interest in mind. And they are saying, good. It's good that you're done. It's good. And it creates a group accountability. So the 5 words, one last time to recap, that's old. Step to the side, I'm new, and then look back at the thing you left and say goodbye. I encourage you to practice that. So if you're going to dark thinking during this time, and that's a pattern that you have found yourself practicing, then look at that pattern, tell that pattern that that's old, step away from that pattern and declare your newness in this moment on this new day, and then get into looking at it and saying goodbye. I will tell you, from years of being a practitioner and a teacher of this, it works. It's golden.
Wow.
So I'm also going to jump. I'm going to jump in one more time on this. The only reason why, because I don't shut up and Ken, you'll have to mute me again. in order to
Hey,
keep-
hold on. We have Joe
Joe
Soto.
Soto. Joe
Hey.
Soto is in the house. I'm
You
excited.
guys
He got
still-
in.
You guys are still on here.
Oh, you have no
Warriors,
idea.
man,
Glenn
warriors.
must have gotten on a roll.
Warriors.
Right.
We're
Bring
just
it
warming
on.
up, baby.
Glenn must have gotten on a roll.
Bring
Well,
in the love. Bring in
That's
the
known
love.
to happen. But Joe was saying something to us.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to give you two different ways. Normally, Dr. Bill's here to carry the body part of everything, and I do the mind stuff that's here. But I want to talk to you about why is it? So if we ever get up in the morning and we feel stressed, right? You all of a sudden you wake up when you should be refreshed and should be done, but you stressed out. Okay, so if you all of a sudden get up and start stressing, why? Because you started thinking of bad things. But it's connected your mind and your body. So if you're continuously in this fight or flight stress mode, that becomes your normal operation. So then what happens is your body gets up in the morning after you've gone to sleep and it's mellowed back out. It wakes up. When you wake up, your body goes, hey, give me the good stuff. I need to get back to the normal, our new normal. And your brain goes, oh, you want the bad thoughts that turn into chemicals that go into you so you can start feeling that same way again. And you start having bad thoughts. So your body is actually telling your brain, because you have not reprogrammed, you actually reprogrammed it, but you haven't put it back to what is correct. What is it that's going to help you to stay that way? Now, when it comes to the mind, the way our mind is set up is that we remember things in the states in which we learned it. So what does that mean? I picture a state of being calm, stressed, annoyed, angry. Those are all different file cabinets. So picture with me now, there's a file cabinet in front of you that says stressed out or scared. Right now, everybody's got a scared folder. So when you open up that file cabinet, is there meditation? Is there peace, harmony, anything in those file folders that do that? No. What's in there is the fact I'm scared shitless right now. And what your brain does is it opens up the folder and it goes, the drawer's open. Here's the current situation we're in. Do you remember this one? Do you remember this one? Do you remember this one? And it goes back through and reads all of these same events that is scared. And it goes through. Because as I'm reading through the comments, just us talking about one situation got everybody going down this rabbit hole of going dark. Right. Yeah. And that's why when I said, hey, if you're going to think dark, let's bounce back out of it. But when you get in that thing, right, part of the cancel, part of the I'm new that Glenn shared with you, right, is because of the fact that you're in the wrong file cabinet. Close the damn file cabinet, open up the one that says happy, but you got to be able to recognize that that's what you're doing. So, I mean, I'll tell you right now, if one person jumps out and scares me, okay, I don't react to much, but I'll tense up and then I'll stop and go. I remember when I was 12, my brother jumped around the corner and did this. I remember I went to Knott's Berry Farm and it was Knott's Scary Farm at the time. And this happened and this happened. And I just keep going down like every time that I got scared. And so we're all in the process of doing this because we're in an uncertain spot. And so fear is something that comes up. So I'm saying, shut the door. Shut that little file drawer, slam it closed, go put on a funny movie, guys. The reason I choose to be comedic in here, apart from my deflection from emotional disturbing behavior, right? Right? What I do is I choose to break the pattern of us spiraling down the wrong way. And so I will throw in humor, I'll throw in a joke, and I'll throw in something. I'll make fun of somebody on the thing like Ken, right? That's there. I can't pick on, Seth MacFarlane in the corner, right? He's going to be doing some voices for us later. But when I look at that, right, I'm going to throw it in there because we need to stop. We need to stop going down the wrong way. And everybody right now, if you turn on news, what are you going to see? The wrong way. Yeah. And then you're going to go turn it on again. You're going to turn it on again. The worst thing that happened about this whole ordeal is my wife, right, my lovely bride that she is, figured out that you can watch news on YouTube. Oh, God. I don't have cable. I don't have access to anything. And then my wife is she's like Glenn Morshower on technology, right? So superstar. But I come home and she is like, boom, I'm streaming this service. I'm on this one. I'm streaming this. And I come in, I'm like, don't chase the negative. Why don't we go look for rainbows and butterflies? Why are we doing this? Right. But she's out there getting down there, spiraling. But she found a way to find what we wanted, but I took it out of the house to begin with. Now I'm like, now I got to cancel my gigabit right? Internet. It's like we're just going to sit in the house in the dark and have to talk to each other or something. But
Honey, I can't come to dinner yet. Joe has just gotten into the insult section.
exactly. Good thing this is recorded. And I want to say kudos to everybody because you guys are sharing the.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people on here. So anybody that doesn't know who Joe Soto is, I want to introduce Joe Soto. He is he's a rock star. Joe, you can tell Glenn what you told me today. Joe was on my show today this morning.
Oh, nice.
And bravo.
Yeah.
Gold.
Thank you. Thank you. No, so Glenn, we were both at the Sam event, Andrew Locke's event.
Oh, wow, in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I spoke. I think I spoke much earlier in the day. Thank God I didn't speak right before or after you.
True statement.
I think he was the only person who got a standing ovation. He made Jay Abraham look bad.
That's Glenn.
I spoke right before Joseph Sugarman. So I was earlier in the day, but no, you knocked it out of the park there at the event. I'm a good friend of Andrew Locke, and
I love Andrew.
We did a mastermind together 3 years ago, collaborated on that, and he's spoken at my events 2 of the last 3 years. So that's where I had a chance to. That's where I had a chance to see you. I didn't have a chance to meet you though, but I had a chance to see you, and we shared a stage. Although at the end of it, my wife was like, "I'm like, hey, honey, who was your favorite speaker?" And she's like, "Oh, Glenn. Glenn was awesome."
Well, maybe on some level you knew that we would meet down the road, and here is that point.
Yeah. So no, I we were blessed to have you in that that setting. That was awesome.
So what did you guys talk about this morning on Ken's show?
So this morning we talked about, well, he was digging at my past.
He did a great job on that one too.
Dude, he's like Joe's like a rusted steel door, man. I couldn't get it open for a little bit, but I finally. He's like, dude, I can't believe this. Like, I've never talked about this. So,
yeah. I mean, we got back to when I was a pre-sentence investigator and then taught batterers classes right out of college, and I was a psych major who didn't know what to do with a degree, and then turned things around. We really talked about reinvention, Glenn. How you can make a choice to reinvent yourself, and during these turbulent times, how do you pivot? And, I have instances in my past, including the recession of 2008, where I pivoted from having a sales training company to starting my own digital marketing agency, and which was really just a sales company. And, how I didn't have to ask for permission to do that. You give yourself permission, you focus on serving other people, and that takes the pressure, and it takes the fear off, the fear down a few notches when you change your focus off of yourself and on other people, which is something I would encourage people to do during this time. And that's very much what Joe is also, suggesting, because if you can turn your focus to the media, you go down a rabbit hole.
Right. Anything that's brilliant said on this thing today is going to come from a Joe. One of the two.
Probably.
Bob, I'm glad you're okay. I really thought you fell under the dash. Scared the heck out of me.
Me too.
So hey, Joe Soto, we were just talking about, I brought it up, and I didn't mean to get dark. I just think that it's something that people need to talk about. And that is, I got a phone call from a friend of mine that's the state director for the suicide prevention hotline. And he said their phones are ringing off the hook right now. And like much more than normal. So, and I just said, I'd hate to see somebody get there. And Joe Soto and I talked today on my show, just so everybody knows. And I said, man, I've been homeless. I've lived in my car. I've had not 2 pennies to rub together. I almost said 2 nickels, but I've been in the place where like, I don't even have 2 pennies to rub together, and had no clue where my next meal was coming from. Back when I was a practicing alcoholic, didn't know where my next drink was coming from, but somehow I made it through somehow. And I don't know how, but
I'll give you I didn't have a chance to hear your guys' insight on that, and I'm going to look forward to going back and watching it. And my apologies. I had a call that went much longer than I anticipated. And that was when you asked me earlier, can you be on here? That was a very incongruent, hesitant. Of course, if this call is responsible within the time frame that I know I'm going to be on, and it wasn't. But I think there is my insight into that would be, and again, this is just my read on situations like that, and having worked in some tough environments like the Department of Corrections before and things like this is when people can't see what happens when uncertain times come crashing in like this, it's very difficult for people to see their future. And they're very caught up in the present of what's going on. In fact, some people, if they're behaving like this is going to go on forever, they are behaving, meaning going out and stocking up on toilet paper and everything else in between, as if this is going to be, years maybe. They can't see an end or the light at the end of the tunnel, to sound cliche. But what happens when you're wrapped up in the current, the present, what's happening to us, and for some of those people, it's traumatic. They're losing their jobs, they're getting laid off, their money's running out, or whatever it might be. There's a lot of things that go beyond our comprehension of knowing what's going on in their lives because we're not in it. But they can't see their future very clearly, so it's hard. It's that's where the toughness settles in. But what I would encourage people in those situations to do, or even people that are struggling right now, or maybe watching this, is to look at history and the timelines for when these very turbulent type of times happen. And while this has been an extraordinary and unique situation, there's been catastrophes and things that have happened in the past that have also led people into dark times. But there's always another side to it. You always come out the other side somewhere. And how you treat what's going on right now can largely impact how you come on the other side, but you have to be able to visualize it, see it, and really look into what is going to be the future, where you'll be able to look back saying that too did pass. And I can see that the things I did, I had an opportunity to be a role model, in that situation, to be a leader. Everybody can be a leader during the time when, leadership wouldn't necessarily be expected from them, even if they're going through traumatic times. So that changes the focus too. So I talk a lot about self-leadership in my Facebook Lives with my teams and my groups and my students. And, there's a lot of people watching you right now, and there's people that may not see what you're doing now, but they'll remember you for what you did later.
Yeah. And
they'll look back on what you did. And so we have an opportunity, and I hope people see it as that. And it's tough when and fear, I talked about this morning on the show, that fear is, you're putting so much attention on you, that it's very difficult. So turning the focus to others and service and just being there, and maybe you sacrifice in the meantime. And sometimes it's tragic. You're not used to dealing with the sacrifice. It's tough. So you saw a future, Ken. There was something you saw, some light, some glimmer of the future. And I bet other people on here right now, one of you guys can probably relate or share a story of how you were in a tough time, but you saw something in the future that you probably could strive to get to, that kept you grounded or sensible, or at least stopped you from doing something that would be, a total shame and really hurt people.
Well, Glenn, I'm sorry.
I think one of the things I appreciate what you're saying there, Joe, is because the Bible says without a vision, people perish.
Yeah.
So having that insight into something beyond today, is what compels it. I love the way you illustrated that and said that.
Yeah. Glenn, were you born this super intelligent, well-spoken, Hollywood famous movie star?
Gorgeous. You forgot gorgeous.
Thank you, Joe. I'm going to just dwell on that for a moment. Okay, I'm over
that in so long.
No, fun fact. I spoke 4 languages on the day of my birth.
Wow, that's
Joe Soto. Ask him what those were.
And I was teaching shortly after I got out of my diapers. No, what happened was I had some hardship, as we all do, because I think if you imagine life as a sculptor, then life sculpts us with hardship. It sculpts who we are. And if we can accept that sculpting, it doesn't make us who we are, but it gives us form, and then we get to decide how we're going to interpret that form.
Yeah.
And this is shaping me. You know, I'll tell you, it changed for me. I'm going to be really just as transparent and knee-jerk and tell you what comes to mind of I'll call it the moment of my life. It was the moment. And there have been several, but this was the defining moment that set me on a path of self-care and connection with all others. In 1973, I went to see a movie that many of you remember. I've only talked about this with some of my closest friends. I've never gone public with it, but it's okay to go public with it. It's not a big secret. But I went to see a movie that all of you, or most of you, have certainly seen, and the film was called The Exorcist. And I was way too young to see that film at the time, way too young. I was 14 in 1973, and I went to see it with a buddy of mine, and I will not say his name for the sake of his family. But we went together, and he was a year older than I was. And the movie scared the snot out of me. Why? Because it shouldn't have been seen by kids. And while today's world, by comparison, if they were to see it, our younger people, the millennials, if they were to look at it, that film could quite possibly seem very tame by today's standards. But at the time the film was released, people were having very powerful emotional responses to it, and it was in uncharted waters. And this film messed my noggin up, right? And I don't mean a little bit. I mean that I couldn't sleep for days. I would go down and sleep for an hour and wake up with nightmares. And it really, really bothered me. And I said to the friend of mine that went with me that I wished we hadn't seen it. He asked me how I was feeling because he was feeling weird. And I said, I wished I hadn't seen it. And he said, I know, me too. How are you sleeping? I said, not well. And it was a very adult conversation between this 14-year-old and this 15-year-old. And we touched base every day about this for probably the first week. And 1 week to the day after we saw the film, my friend killed himself at age 15.
Wow.
There is no punchline to this.
Wow.
And it was at that point when it was made crystal clear to me how careful we need to be about what is brewing underneath the surface.
Wow.
And that basically we don't need to take what appears to be on the surface too seriously, because frankly, I think most people live behind facades. I think that basically, if I can speak about relationships, and I will make this brief, I think basically that what happens are two bullshit artists meet one another. Both people are bullshitting about who it is they are, not being transparent with one another. The bullshit act works, and both bullshit artists fall in love with each other. And after about 90 days, and it sometimes is 180, it's like 6 months. But after a few months, the bullshit can't not fade away. It can't not. So it does. And then who people really are winds up being revealed. And I realized that it wasn't just the movie, but it was his interpretation of it that led to that outcome. And that something needed to be helped, something needed to be loved, something needed to be, and this is a big word for all of us, especially at this time, something needed to be restored. He needed to be restored because he was off as a result of this. And unfortunately, the off version of him is the one that made a permanent decision. Whereas if he had been restored, he would have been able to find his way out of the woods. And I have been committed to restoration of all people since I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
And I think most people find that there is a profound turning point in their lives where they got crystal clear about something, whatever it is. You know, we hear these stories of alcoholics bottoming out. Then you say, what was your bottom? A sex addict who hits a bottom. There's usually we don't figure it out on top.
Right.
We usually figure it out on the bottom.
Yeah.
or we cave in, and that's that turning point where it becomes literally do or die.
Such a great point.
So I've never told that story to an audience, but it was a very real story, and it changed my life.
Thank you for sharing that, because there's probably people that need to hear that, and I think there's multiple powerful messages in that.
And I left his name out of the story, but Ken, you asked me about the discussion from last night about money and people having money, and somehow I don't know if it was a comment we started talking about, or I may have derailed myself. But I would like to just say, because I know how helpful this is to hear, is so often people feel like they're behind the 8 ball if they don't have money, or and I got to tell you, first of all, I'm grateful for this awareness, because I'm around a lot of people with money. We certainly are comfortable. I don't have the disease of wishing I had more. I'm grateful to be who I am, where I am, doing what I love. I'm grateful for this moment to be sharing with you, gentlemen. I tend to walk around as just a pool of gratitude, even when things are tough, just being grateful that we're here to experience the highs and lows of life. We're just here to feel it all. Well, I remember years ago when Chris Reeve had his accident, and this is the story I wanted to tell from last night.
Yeah.
That there is this sort of what you were hinting at.
Yeah, because I said there's a lot of people, most people watching this, if they are having any fear, it probably revolves around that, around money and the fear of not having enough to sustain the lifestyle they have or whatever it is. And you told that story. I'd love for you to tell that again.
I will. And in the interest of everyone having plenty of time on screen, I will rush through it, but I want to tell it from my heart.
Yeah.
Give it this time.
This comes in 2 parts. So the first part is that I've worked around most of my adult life, a lot of people with large amounts of money, and several, but one in particular, but he was basically, he was echoing the sentiment of so many others. Let me move this light a little bit out of the shot so it's not quite so bright. Someone who I was with this person when they signed a contract that was worth $45 million. This is not made up. $45 million. And within a couple of days of signing that contract, the person said to me, and I quote, "I want so badly what you have. Money didn't fix it."
Wow.
And the reality is, if we're broken, money doesn't repair brokenness. Is it nice to open up options? You bet it is, but it doesn't fix things. And we can prove this by looking at the story of Christopher Reeve, who on that day in Culpeper, Virginia, there was a moment that preceded that jump. He was aboard his own horse. That horse's name was Eastern Express, right? It was a young thoroughbred that he had ridden in competitions many, many times. They were in oneness. They were in synchronicity. They were well adept and practiced at this. And this was a mere 3-foot jump. It was uneventful. By anyone who knows anything about the equestrian world, it was really a routine jump. And let's go to that split second before the jump, when the average person in the stands, if they were to consider the entirety of Christopher Reeve's life, would have looked at it as, oh my gosh, oh, it would be so nice to be known, to be respected, to be wealthy like Chris, to maybe have the house that Chris has, or the cars that he drives, or the people in his life, the ease with which he lives, the good friends. And Robin Williams, by the way, was one of Chris's dearest friends. He probably was Chris's dearest friend. And what happened is, I'm just saying, we would have this condition of money envy, or I wish I had what you have. I wish, coming from lack. And in one instant, the moment Chris was catapulted off of his horse and hit the ground and broke his neck, in that same instant, there would have been a complete 180-degree turnabout. where Chris would have gladly emptied the entirety of his bank accounts, plural, all of them, tapped them, just to be able to sit in the stands with everybody else and be able to move, even if he was flat ass broke. I can picture him now just saying, take it all. Just please give me my sacred and precious movement back. Let me just be able to get up out of a chair. And what this teaches, and vice versa, the people in the stands would certainly not want to have traded places after that accident. No one would want to be in that position by choice. And so what this teaches us to do is be still and assess what is wonderful, not what is wrong, but what is wonderful. So I'm going to ask everyone listening tonight, what's wonderful about your life? We know what sucks. Okay. The coronavirus situation is one that I will say it sucks, but that doesn't mean we suck. And that doesn't mean that we need to suck. And that doesn't mean we should suck because the situation sucks. I think we can elevate while the situation sucks. So that's the talk I think you wanted me to give on money, and I'm gonna go get some duct tape too.
The mindset that you're wrapping around gratitude and illustrating it through the story, which is powerful. Thank you for sharing both stories.
Yeah.
Is that redirection of focus that I would urge everyone to apply in their life. All of us. Not just the people that are listening or watching. It's just something we have to remind ourselves of consciously, is waking up every day. What are you grateful for? And we all could list, after hearing the Christopher Reeve story, you could list 1,000 things. You know what I mean? It becomes much easier to realize what we take for granted. But when you don't have your focus there, you're allowing other things like the files to slip in, like Joe was pointing out.
Yeah.
You're choosing which files to pay attention to, and that's the gratitude file that I think is so important and missing. I think it's probably one of the most powerful things somebody could be encouraging people to focus on in this time right now, and it's real. It's real.
Wow. I want to build on that, Joe. Thank you very much for sharing that. Somebody hit me up today. I've been doing a bunch of free calls and just kind of helping people and just talking to them, going into groups and saying, hey, if you need anybody to talk to, I'm here for you. And obviously the thing of money comes up quite often. And in my speaking arrangements, my speaking gigs that I do, I ask people out in the audience, because obviously money is a situation. And in order to change their perspective, I ask everybody by a show of hands, would $1 million change your life? Would $1 million solve all your problems? And everybody's like, yeah, man. Oh yeah, totally. $1 million with like all, you see everybody talking and everything. I'm like, all right. I said, everything being equal, I give you $1 million. You give me your eyesight. Tax-free, you get $1 million cash. You give me your eyesight. You can still get around. You can still do things. Money solves all your problems. You guys do it. The audience goes silent. One person raises his hand because they're a jerk. And they're like, yeah, no. Okay. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Eyesight is really important. We all love our eyesight. We all want to see. Would $500,000 get you guys what you need to solve all your problems, to stop all your excuses, to stop all your bitching, and just reframe everything? Would $500,000, $500,000 in cash right now solve everything for you? And people are like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, okay, still play along with me. Okay, $500,000, you give me your legs. You're paralyzed for the rest of your life. You have $500,000. All your problems are solved. You can still drive. You can still play tennis. I got a friend of mine who's more fucking dangerous than I am on a wheelchair than I am with 2 legs. I said, do you do it? And people are like, no. I'm like, that's my point. When you wake up in the morning, your eyes open, your feet hit the floor, you're $1.5 million ahead of the game. It's where your focus is. That's what these guys have been saying. That's what we're all trying to say. If you're sitting there focusing on the news and you're watching Facebook feeds and all the stupid bullshit that people are posting that doesn't have any statistical backup or any freaking fact checking on it, people just posting this shit and they're like, oh, look at this and look at this. And if you're feeding into that, then that's what your life is going to be like. And that's what's going to bleed into all that stress and that uncertainty and that vicious cycle of going down the rabbit hole. But when you're actually focused on what it is that you have and you're grateful that you actually went to a room in your house and you turned a lever and hot water came streaming out of the wall for unlimited amount of time, I mean, there's so many things to be grateful for in this world. Just take stock in your life. We were talking about it last night with your families, taking this opportunity to grow your families and grow your communication and really take this time to grow and improve yourself, and having those conversations is kind of just trying to illustrate, what are we thankful for? I do that with my family. I'm like, what are you guys grateful for today? We used to sit down and have this bitch session about how our day was horrible. And I'm like, I'm the motivator guy. I'm the fucking no excuses guy. Let's talk about what we're grateful for. And I've got my son saying, oh, Dad, I'm grateful it was nice outside. I'm grateful that Ozzy loves to bark. And it's just like a great way to do things. So I just want to share that with you guys. If you're sitting there looking at what you don't have, then you're going to get more of that. And if you look at this as an opportunity to regroup and reassess and reevaluate your life and come out of this stronger and more unstoppable than ever, then you can do that. You just have to make sure you make that choice. And I think that's a lot of what we're all saying tonight.
The choice is easier when you can recall and revisit your values, and things that are important to you, right? And then it becomes easier to go, when I think about things I value in my life, faith and family and everything that might follow that, it grounds you to your values, so it's more easy to focus on things like gratitude, like Glenn's pointing out, rather than, I think, the deeper lesson of what Glenn was sharing, which is attaching your identity to the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. And what happens is people will live out that identity, which wasn't aligned with their value system, because they didn't see the future.
Joe, that's monumental, brother.
There's a lot. We have Mark Victor Hansen's amazing wife on here. Crystal Hansen is watching. So, hey, Crystal.
Hey, Crystal.
I think that another thing is people are walking around in life, and social media is huge. And I mean, I teach social media, so it's huge, right? And it's how I make my living. But I'm not walking around comparing my movie going on to everybody else's highlight reel. And I think that everybody is out here going, well, yeah, look at Glenn Morshower. I mean, my gosh, he's a movie star and he's on TV, and he can't go out in public without wearing dark shades, or he gets mobbed or whatever. Or look at Joe Soto and he's got 7 kids, a big house and a booming business. And Joe Ingram is driving a Ferrari or a Corvette even. But we're looking at everybody else and we're comparing ourselves to them, and that is a surefire way to have a really miserable existence.
What is the old adage? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
And Photoshop gives me any car I want.
Fast track to misery.
Wait, say that, Bob.
Comparison is a fast track to misery.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So I mean, you got you can't compare your movie, what's going on in your life, and you're seeing these tiny little snippets of other people's lives, their highlight reel, and you're like, oh my God, I wish I had it as good as Bob Donnell has it. Like, he doesn't understand. And I see him riding around in that fancy car, and he's got AirPods, and I can only get the ones with the cord attached, like Glenn, or whatever. We're comparing ourselves to other people.
We do.
And that's just, and it's a horrible way to exist.
Sure.
Yeah. Jeffrey had a podcast this morning and said, what's the weather like inside?
Right.
The weather can be whatever it is outside, but what's the weather like inside? And I loved just that little mind shift.
Yeah.
That puts the responsibility back on ourselves to, rethink, how we're behaving, and is it aligned with our values? I mean, going out and buying up every supply that evenly distributed, we would just be fine. But buying up supplies that put people in a position of lack probably doesn't align with most of those people's values for the way they behaved. But if they had just stopped and kind of reassessed, refocused, would they have made some of those choices that have now put other people back? That this is where we all have the ability to readjust and say, how am I behaving? And is that aligned with who I want to role model to my family and to my friends? And and to, you know, to the people and who I serve. You know, I want to really encourage people to hold on to this stuff and share, you know, in the comments, you know, maybe how you're staying grounded and focused on the things that are important to you, and reminding yourself of things that are like, for instance, what's your gratitude routine, Glenn? You wake up and go, man, I'm just happy to be alive today? Or do you carry around a gratitude rock? Like,
actually, I have a policy that I really honor daily, which is that I practice horizontal gratitude. Okay. So I open my eyes, and the first words out of my mouth, they are not thoughts only. They are words, spoken words, are words of gratitude for another shot at it. Yeah. Just grateful for another shot. Thank you for the fact that I have slept through over 33,000 heartbeats. That is what it comes out to, right? 102,680 is our total in 24 hours at 72 beats per minute. So we're right around the 34,000 heartbeats that take place completely unmonitored by us anyway, while we sleep. And I love the fact that we get to sleep for a lot of reasons, but the two biggest ones are, one, for restoration. Yeah. And the other one that I think was part of the whole creator's mindset, I really believe that it was to grant us separation from yesterday. Right? I think that's one of the biggest beauties of sleep, is whatever didn't work, it's done. It's in the books, and the sleep period allows us to do that, but only if we allow it to give us its gift. Yeah, and that's really the situation when you think about universal gift giving, is gifts are bestowed upon us to the extent that we're willing to receive them and willing to embrace them and celebrate them, because that's why they're saying one man's trash is another man's treasure. Somebody can give a gift, the same gift, to two different people, and for one of them, it will dramatically change their life and improve it, and it'll be a turning point, a pivotal. For the other, they would describe it as an absolute non-moment, right?
Versus you see it as like this daily renewal, another shot. I love that.
And always have. And this is not said so that I can sound like this glowing picture of wellness. If anyone knows me personally, they know that is my truth, that I awaken to gratitude and then proceed from there. All of that done before my feet hit the deck. And then the first thing that I put into my body, the very first thing, is water. That it's by design, no matter what. And I like Bob. Bob and I are both big iced tea people. Sorry for outing you, Bob, but I don't think that's a big secret. You know, you could probably handle me telling the public that you and I both like tea. So I love my iced tea. But I will tell you, I don't start the day with coffee, and I don't start it with iced tea. I don't start it with anything but water, for this reason. Not only is it the best thing for me, but there is a spiritual reason. And the reason is because it is the purest thing I can place into me. Yeah. And so it becomes also, in addition to being physically good, it is a symbol of purity, because I think that the more we inject our bodies with purity, whether it's in a liquid substance, purity in friendship, purity in love, but to just decide that this does bring me extreme joy, and water does that, followed by a shower and making my bed. And that has nothing to do with anyone planning to come to the house. It is a discipline, because, and I've shared this with my students, the idea of making your bed, I don't have some sort of weird tape that was downloaded to me by my stepfather. I'm not thinking someone's going to hit me with a switch if my bed is unmade. It isn't that. What it is the placement, the installation of order. It's orderly. And I've actually timed it. It takes me 4 frigging minutes. 4, not even a full 5. It takes me 4 minutes to turn this king size bed from just a big mess of covers and pillows and blankets into absolute order. And I look at my bed and I go, and that is the template for my life. That is the template for my day, which lived one day at a time becomes my life ultimately. So in order to have order, I think you have to look at order. So set up a template, create a template, whether it's a made bed, whether it's a neatly trimmed beard, whether it's the dishes done so that yesterday's mess is not in your sink. Doing dishes can be therapeutic, or check this out, it can be a royal pain in the ass, but that's up to the dishwasher.
Yeah.
If you decide that it can be therapeutic, baby, you put on a little James Taylor and you rock and roll, and you love the fact that in 25 to 30 minutes time, you take an entire sink full of dirty dishes and they're all beautiful and in the dish rack, and you celebrate because you are the reason those are clean. And once again, this becomes the template for your life.
And a source for good feelings.
You bet. And you're now stockpiling good feelings because you're turning messes. And, we have a saying in acting, if we're given a really poor script, that it is our job to turn chicken shit into chicken salad.
Yeah. Love it.
Well,
and he says I'll drink water while making my coffee. That's the fifth thing he does is the coffee. Then finally, right?
And
not much of a coffee drinker. Actually,
I want to say this too: is everybody except I maybe Joe and Glenn, but everybody else on this stream has doubts, right?
Oh,
we all experience doubt. Like
I doubt that that's correct.
But
I doubt you're being sincere.
But I think everybody, and now everybody's talking about James Taylor. So, but everybody has these doubts. And Glenn, do you do it like you just named off these things? And I want to. I'm sitting here thinking of all these.
They're rituals for me.
Number one, I'm watching Joe Soto take notes, and because that's who Joe Soto is, right? He's taking notes. He's listening to Glenn spit out words of unbelievable wisdom. And Joe, I watched him. I'm watching him over here grab his pen and his pad.
I was mad that the notepad I want to get to is in my downstairs studio, my basement, and I'm like, where the frick is my notepad?
Right.
He wrote down Joe is funny.
I don't
know what you guys are talking about. He's like Joe threw in the doubt thing.
I'll tell you what I wrote down.
Let me make one quick statement, because I sat with Grant Cardone for 3 hours in a private meeting one time. The guy's worth $400 million. I don't know. He's doing something right. And I watched him in a meeting with a gigantic company, and I'm like, I sat there just like a fly on the wall. And I watched this dude take notes like I have never seen anybody take notes in my life. And I said, holy shit, I need to learn how to take notes. Like, I haven't been taking notes. And so, watching Joe right now, and I'm in a private mastermind group with Joe, and he's one of the leaders in the mastermind. And I watched him in person. He's sitting there taking notes as he's going through all this stuff. And I'm like, God, I got to get better at taking notes. And I say that often, but I don't take the action. So I saw Joe grab his pad, and I'm like, okay, I'm grabbing mine. I'm going to start taking notes. It's so important because you're not going to remember this stuff. You're not going to remember it. Take notes.
And it's easy to say, we'll go back and watch the whole thing over again, which doesn't always happen. But what I took note of, and because I saw this, everyone's going to hear different things that are important to them.
Yep.
Right. What was important to me was the gain the needed separation from the previous day, part of the ritual. He said that was part 2. It was that I think that it's also the separation that's needed from the previous day, that daily renewal, like another shot at it. And I wrote it down because I believe that can help a lot of people to hear that. And I don't want to forget that, because I want to be able to say, I heard Glenn say this, and I think that this is something that could resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And what it does is it's sometimes, I always say people don't need permission to make shifts, but sometimes they need to hear encouraging words that will help them give themselves permission to make shifts. And those are the type of encouraging words that helps me, and I think can help other people when I hear something like that. And then I wrote the rest of the routine down, but that was that mindset that he kind of takes for granted, and I'm glad we got it out of him, is not the normal for probably how some people wake up, Glenn?
Rest assured, if you were saying I do, the answer is I don't. I don't take anything for granted.
Yeah, well,
I'm talking about zero. It's
maybe
just
that's the
not.
wrong word. What's kind of unconsciously competent to you may be out of your awareness of how that really could set in with some people.
No, I'm with you.
Who wake up completely attached to the day before. In fact, they had nightmares about it and it kept them up, and they just woke up and said, screw it, I'm up.
Right.
And, didn't start their day with purity.
Well,
they started with stimulants and something else, maybe unfortunately to even they thought could cope with the day because they're so attached, versus seeing it as that I got another shot and it's a new day, but it's like a renewal. My body restored overnight, and I'm now got the separation needed and the rest needed to be able to take on a new day and a new shot. I just love that mindset.
Say it again. How you state that again? The separation thing.
Oh, are you talking to me, Ken?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just the idea of separating. First of all, that it's for restoration. Excuse me, physical restoration.
Right.
But it's also about separating yesterday, and honestly, in many cases, let's call it what it is, yesteryear from today. I think it is one of the biggest insults that we give back to today, because today gives us brand new, and we give it back chronic opinionitis about yesterday and yesteryear. So we wind up missing today's appointment with us, because it came to be fresh. It came to be new. It came to be an unpainted canvas, right? And let us start fresh. Mm-hmm. It didn't show up with smeared paint all over it saying, well, best of luck. It tried to be fresh. And then we insist on saying, no, but look at this. But look at this.
We'll drag all kinds of stuff in the past.
And then we just recue and regurgitate the disasters of yesterday and yesteryear. And, two things that help that. One, I have a face that I make. And I encourage, and anyone who knows me knows this face. Excuse me. So the face is this one. And anytime, let me give you the full deal. Yeah. Anytime things get just too heavy, I've been known in my life to just put on this face and go, look at you being all upset about that. Look at you you're just real upset about that, aren't you? And I got to tell you, it goes away like that. Wow. Because I've learned to entertain it. I've learned to laugh about it. And here's another big one. If you've got an ego that is really at war with someone else, maybe who's suffering from a similar need to be right, if you're a dick, I'm going to just call it what it is. If you're being a dick, one of the best things you can do, and especially if you're being a dick with someone you actually care about, right? I think it applies to any relationship. But how many of you have ever tried this? And if you haven't, I encourage you to do this. Physically throw a flag on yourself, just like an umpire on or a referee on a football field, and stop mid-sentence. Maybe you're raising your voice, whatever it is, but just stop, physically back up out of the room that you just entered as a dick and re-enter the room with an apology and a new you. And I'm telling you, the acting out of that is magical. It is magical when you stop and go, I'm being a dick. And I'm not a dick, but I'm being one. And I don't like being who I'm not. So allow me to reset. And then you walk back in and go, good morning. Good morning. And they so appreciate that you arrested your own bullshit act.
Yeah. This is actually really good parenting advice.
Well, we raised two kids and they're both really, really sane. And they are 38 and in a week, my son will turn 40. Yeah. And they are contributing members of society who are sane and happy and whole. And they were played with a lot. I mean, I used to tell them stories with this guy and but that whole idea of stopping yourself in mid bullshit.
Yeah.
Instead of having somebody else say, "Hey, you need to calm down."
This is management advice. This is, this
What
is
if you
marriage
calm-
advice. This is parenting advice.
What if you calm yourself down? And what if it occurs to you that right in the middle of a moment, I'm utterly full of shit?
Yeah, and we've all caught ourselves, and then you don't, by not breaking the state and resetting, you finish it out, and then you just regret it later, and it's bad, and this is a way better strategy. Tactic.
So my question to everybody is, what is so difficult for people? Because clearly they find it difficult. What is so hard about saying the two words, "I'm sorry"? What is so hard about saying I was wrong? What is so hard to say about saying, "Please forgive me. I'll do better next time. I was out of line. I'm aware that hurt your feelings." What is so damn difficult about that when it is so much brighter on the other side of a simple and sincere apology and just stopping and going, that behavior is full of shit. And I'm here to do better in this moment, and I'm going to, and literally backing up and walking back into the room. And I'll tell you, whether it's your spouse, your friend, your manager, your coworkers, your students, they will have so much respect for someone who halted themselves in the middle of their own bullshit act and changed it on the spot. But that takes paying attention, and you've got to be willing to pay attention.
Yeah.
That's great advice, Glenn. It's similar to when I was helping somebody out the other day. They were hitting me up for some advice, and they said they constantly keep going to the negative. And I said, "Do you have a rubber band in your house?" And they're like, "Yeah." I said, "Do me a favor." I said, "As stupid as this sounds, just take the rubber band, put it around your wrist, whatever your predominant wrist is." I said, every time you catch yourself going down the rabbit hole of something being negative, and this is something that as stupid as it sounds, it is a technique that works for lots of things. I've helped people quit swearing. I've helped people quit smoking. I've helped people quit picking their nose, all sorts of different weird shit. So you put the rubber band on there, and every time you go negative, you snap the shit out of that. You don't baby snap it, you snap it, and you immediately go into gratitude, like we were talking about before. If you keep shifting your mind, I mean, Tony Robbins talks about a lot about how you shift your state. You shift your focus enough, and you start catching yourself. You may not catch yourself until half of that negative thought is already out, and then you snap that rubber band, and you're like, okay, I caught it. And then you replace it with, wow, I'm really grateful that I have electricity. I'm really grateful that I have a TV hanging on my wall. I'm really grateful that I have this opportunity with these amazing gentlemen to impact people's lives. And you start doing that, and you catch yourself over and over again. And even for me, somebody who is quote unquote the master motivator and all this other shit, I can still go negative. And I've noticed that over the years that I've employed this in myself and make sure that I use it, I used to go from being able to be negative for like 2 hours and then catch myself and going into like maybe a minute and a half. It's like, Chris, what are you talking about? Really? Seriously? Your son is, and you now I actually did it right now. I snap an imaginary rubber band because I don't snap it anymore. But it's just amazing. If you guys out there, you take what it is that you're grateful for, like we were talking about before, you take your attention and you continue to focus on that. And then actually you pay it forward and you give to other people and you give your gift. That's one of the movements that I'm calling right now. It's calling Give Your Gift. You go out there and you sing for somebody, you make baked goods, you do whatever it is that you can do within the realm of not passing on infectious diseases. And you start paying that forward and you start catching yourself when you're being negative. Just think about that cycle that you perpetuate, and then that bleeds out to other people. And if you get the negative naysayers in your life that go, "It's stupid, that's Pollyanna, why are you doing all that?" Then you need to wish them well and get other people in your world, because when you surround yourself by kick-ass people like that are here on the screen and they're here on the chiming in with the remarks, it's phenomenal what you can actually accomplish. So just redirect that negativity and redirect your things that you're focusing on that you don't have, and give to other people. And that I have mentored at-risk kids now for probably about 12 years. And honestly, there's been nights where I've been driving to the house and I'm like, man, I don't feel like it tonight. I got to bring it. And every single time within 2 minutes of being in there, talking to the guys and reconnecting with them, I'm like, I'm so glad I did this. And I walk out of there feeling like I'm an asshole if I didn't show up. So when you go give your gift, it is phenomenal how you can redirect that negativity into positivity, and you can build together a cohesive community within your house and within your community and within the world. And we can really change things. That's my vision. I know it's huge, but that's, I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Beautiful, Chris.
Can I jump in on this one too? Because Chris, you said it beautifully, of course. When you get to the point of the relationship thing, right? When you're dealing with the kids, you're dealing with everybody else that's out there. What I always look at, and again, a lot of the frustration that comes up, there was a comment way up above, but first note, because I'm the ADD guy, right? Look at all the comments and see which file cabinet we moved into. Okay, because now everybody is just like, yeah, we're productive, we're happy, we're doing it right. Everything's coming up the right way when we're in
That's
this.
correct.
So we went there, brought them back up, and I love that. That's perfect.
Yep.
A lot of the frustrations, a lot of the times when you get to the dick mode where you have to flag yourself, which goes with all the rest of my Post-it notes I have on my desk. But if you were looking at it at that point in time, it's because you're frustrated, which means you have an expectation that was not met. So you had a personal expectation, you didn't communicate properly, and the other person didn't fulfill that. So I learned this a long time ago, and I put it out, and I own 90% of the relationship I have with each person. There is no 50-50 BS, because that means we both have to try to time it at the right time to have 100% of a relationship. So I own 90%, my bride owns 10%. Okay, my kids own 10%, I own 90%. So my overall effort all the time is to represent that I have 90% responsibility for the relationship, for your understanding, for what you are saying, right? It's up to me. And I don't do the drama of, well, that's not what I meant. That may have been what you heard, but that's not what I meant. I own your understanding.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make sure whatever I say is going to come across to you so that you're nodding or you're understanding what I'm trying to tell you, because I'll speak your language as opposed to speaking my own. And I teach this in my sales courses. I teach myself in everything that I go in. Like my bride always tells me this. She goes, so-and-so's having issues. Go talk to them. And I'm like, what do they have issues with? Their boyfriend. And I'm like, whoa, no. I'll help you sell something. And she's like, yeah, but it's the same stuff. Just go in and do that. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But if I have to be me in order to do this, to work on our relationship, then my focus is on the wrong person in the relationship. So I have to be, so if I'm going to have a communication with Joe Soto because he's so cool, right? I'm going to say, I need to speak Joe Soto, not I need to speak Joe Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
I have to
cool.
own that language, as opposed to saying, well, this is what I had. Because he goes, what a jerk. He said this, and this. And then I'm like, that's not what I meant. So then I have to take ownership and say, well, if he got that from it, yeah, he could be having a bad day. Yeah, he could be having everything else. But I own the fact that you didn't understand what I said. And if everybody took that ownership level back for themselves, instead of saying, I throw it out there, and if it sticks the right way with you, it's good. Right. If it doesn't, tough, that's your problem. So I want to point out, Ken, that I did not use any swear words, right? Since Abigail decided to come busted in, right? I'm Instagram, you know that. So
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
that's what I look at. Do you see what I'm saying? It's
Well
own
said,
the
Joe. Well
relationship.
Good night, honey.
Yeah.
Good night, Abigail.
That's beautiful, Joe.
Yeah, Joe. Big time.
Right on the money. Hey, Chris, do you remember when we did affirmations with the ball, that one of our favorites was total ownership?
Yep.
Total ownership. It's a big one. Hey, Ken, I want to ask you, in order to be one of the panelists, can you send me a link? I've got a very powerful person I would like to add to this mix. And the reason I was looking away, I was totally listening to you guys, but I was looking away long enough to send a text to see if I could get this powerful, heart-centric man to join our panel. He is an icon in this state.
I'm already here, Glenn.
No, I said in this state.
Oh, that state. I got it.
Yeah, let me, Glenn, I'll send you until we've got Dr. Bill in here.
Okay.
That's not the icon. That was not the icon.
What is our max on people? Do we have room for
It's
another?
6. So since Bill was so late to the party,
I can come out.
No, Joe, you don't need to. But
That's good. I can back out.
do you want to hear from this person that? Oh, well, that was easy. Bill, see, Bill's a team player. I love that.
I was trying to
figure out how to get out.
Ken kicked him out. That's all it was.
Okay, so if you will send me whatever link. Oh, there it is. I see it. Okay.
just yeah, copy and paste
So
that.
post that to your Facebook.
No, don't
page.
post
Oh,
that.
no.
Don't confuse me.
No. Joe already told you to do that once. Way to go, Joe.
Yep.
And I had to kick out, I'm sure, some really good people from the green room.
Well, we scared several people when they
I have
came
no
in.
idea. I was sitting here. There were a lot of people that came in. They've still been coming in randomly, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I sent them a little prayer. So sorry, my daughter wanted to come in and say goodnight and say hello to all of you. So yeah. But
sweet dreams to
Nice.
her.
My brother put up there, Bill went 90%. That's what Bill just did. He went 90% of the relationship and bounced out.
That's funny.
Well, I know he's watching and he'll chime back in. But as soon as he's ready, and I'll send him a private text. But I sent him. Let me just write ready when you are.
You know, both these two things while he's getting him in here that you guys shared, Chris, with giving your gift, which is the most short and purposeful way to say what I've been trying to tell my people to do this week, which is go out and serve the community, to go the extra mile for the people with your expertise. You have almost an obligation to go and help people with that gift. And you just summed it up better. But also even Joe talking about the communication of making sure you're taking ownership and it's your responsibility whether someone is interpreting you the way you intend. You have to be flexible and adjust your communication until that comes through if you're owning it, and that's also something to take during these turbulent times right now seriously, because if we take ownership of the impact we can have with the people that are out there and the messaging that we could have online right now for people who follow us that we have an impact with, and we take 90% of that relationship and that takes the focus off. It actually takes the focus off you, paradoxically, to the 90% rule. You're putting so much of a focus on somebody else that you would go that extra percentage to be able to adapt. And I think we need more of that right now. So we are spreading a positive vibe and a positive virus. Jeffrey wrote yesterday, I loved his little quirk of which virus are you spreading? And he encouraged people to spread the yes attitude virus, which I just love.
And for those that don't know what Jeffrey you're talking about, because you've referenced him.
Sorry.
Who is it?
So Jeffrey Gitomer, who wrote the Little Red Book of Selling and the Sales Bible. And
Jeffrey Wolf's really mad right now in the comments.
By the way,
he's been telling everybody it's me.
Ken, the name of my buddy is Brad.
Jeff Wolf is a rock star.
My buddy's name is Brad. So don't run him off, Joe, when he comes into the waiting room.
No, that's all Ken. Ken controls the waiting room.
Okay.
He's the one that kicked Bill out. Yeah.
Let me give you a quick heads up about my dear friend Brad and who he is. He is an absolute icon in the state of Texas because Brad Sham is the voice of the Dallas Cowboys. He is their announcer. He has been their announcer. He is the Vin Scully of the Cowboys, if you get it, right? And he has been the voice of the Cowboys for over 40 years. They have named the radio booth there after him at AT&T Stadium. He is a dear and cherished friend. And I got to tell you, probably one of the lesser things about him is that the greater truth about him is who he is. And what a dear man he is, what a massive heart he has, and a genuine concern for the well-being of others, which is the reason I wanted to bring him aboard, because he fits the same job description in my life that each of you do. So Brad Sham is his name, and when he comes into the room, just welcome in. He was looking it up on Messenger, and he might have gone to the same school of technology that I went to, which was no school. But we'll see.
Ask him if he has a laptop or a desktop computer, and if he does, he has to use Google Chrome. That would be the best way.
Okay, I'll write use Google Chrome
on a laptop or desktop computer only. A phone just doesn't work well.
Where's Bob?
Okay.
That phone just doesn't work.
Stop to get gas.
Well, somebody, while we're waiting for Brad, there was a question that just popped up on the screen, and I thought it was really interesting. It was, how do you become a motivational speaker? And honestly, I asked that question a long time ago, and literally you just start speaking. You just take your passion, you take your hobby, and you get involved. You start speaking at local events. You start speaking for free. You just open your mouth and you start talking, and you start developing a network, and make sure you go to like Toastmasters or something like that and just perfect your speaking skill. And eventually you will become a motivational speaker. Just take your story, craft it, and hone it and share it with the world, and you will become a speaker. I'm living proof of it.
Hey, let's welcome Brad Sham. He's here.
Hey,
Hi, Brad.
There
Sorry,
he is.
Sorry that took a minute, but I think I'm older than all of you. So
You got there a lot quicker than I did, brother. Welcome, Brad.
Thank you, Glenn.
And may I, before we get started with Brad, Joe Soto has fatherly and husband stuff he's got to get to right now. He just so I wanted to just give him that out. Joe, thank you for jumping on, bro.
Thank you, Joe.
I hate to have to get off of here. Had I known that you guys would be all willing to stay up so late, I would have blocked out the entire night.
Well, we're trying to give people an alternative to CNN, brother.
Listen,
thank you for blessing us.
You know what? I'm
Thanks,
game.
Joe.
I'm game any night. God
Thank you for blessing us with your insight.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Appreciate your heart. I look forward to meeting you in person, Joe.
Thank you, guys. Love you.
Love you back.
Dang, he's good people.
Yes, indeed. I want to ask a question of our audience, and just chime in if you would, so that we can see it scrolling across the screen there to the right. And Brad, if you want to look at the comments, you just click on where it says live comments off to the right side of the screen. It'll say private chat and then live comments.
Got it.
When
So
the student is ready, the teacher appears. Look at that.
So I want to ask this. I want to ask sincerely, how many of you that are listening successfully got lost in this? Successfully. In other words, how many of you had spurts of 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes where you relocated your focus and got it off of something, you got it off of something you couldn't change and onto things you can? And that you've experienced a sense of relief because you were focusing on moving forward and moving upward instead of dwelling on this thing that is currently upsetting so many people, just by shifting your focus. If the answer is yes, then we have done what we set out to do tonight. Not to distract, but to simply assist you with focusing your mindset. Someone, Glenn Caldwell, said 100%. Fabulous. I'm glad to hear it. So, Brad, we're talking on the subject, and this is night number 2 of this panel as an alternative to CNN, of what can we be doing to remain sane, to remain calm, to be helpful to others, just about mindset in general during this chapter of life, which clearly is unprecedented. And you are so familiar with the human heart that I really value your input.
Well, thank you. You're, as I told you when you invited me on here, you need to raise the bar a little bit. But thank you for that. You know, for me, I think the answer, now that we're 3 or 4 days into this, all of us, for me, the answer has been anchored in what one's spiritual orientation was before this ever started. If you didn't have one, you would probably have a harder time. You would probably experience more anxiety. You would probably feel more lost and at sea. If you had a spiritual anchor, this is my opinion, but if you had a spiritual anchor to begin with and are able to dig into that a little bit in intentional practice every day, then handling this will be a little easier. Now, that'll depend on what your circumstances are. If your livelihood depends on things that aren't happening anymore, then that's a very real world problem that faith alone necessarily help you with, but it will help you handle it. But if that's not an issue, then I think that you can, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling uncertain, when you're feeling lost and disoriented and wondering what day it is and what kind of movie that you would never pay to see you woke up in the middle of, that if you have a spiritual base, I think that you can fall back onto that, rely on that, and use that as the way to do the best you can every day. And I do think that things like this can be useful. Forums like this can be useful. I have found myself texting and calling people that I haven't talked to in a while, and making sure that you stayed in contact and in touch. And my place of worship has been very deliberate about finding outreach and ways to study and pray through forums like this, using Zoom. So, okay, we're not seeing each other, but we're seeing each other. We're not together, but we're together. And I think as much as we can do to hold on to the things that give us peace. Someone said to me something the other day, how are you enjoying the new normal? Well, this isn't the new normal. This is the new bizarre. There's nothing normal about this. And the one thing that we have to understand is that very much, almost all of this is out of our control. There was a baseball player in the 80s, 70s, and 80s named Mickey Rivers, and I became familiar with him when he was playing for the Texas Rangers, but he played for the Yankees. I think he played for the Angels. And he was a really good baseball player, and he was a really unique guy. He was about 5'6" and 140 pounds, and he was a really good hitter. And he came from his own planet, and he answered to his own drummer. And someone asked him once, they were getting ready to play a big series, and they said, Mick, how do you feel about this series? Are you worried about it? Is there a lot of pressure? And he kind of thought about it for a second. And he said, I don't worry about what I can control, because if I can control it, ain't no sense worrying about it. And I don't worry about what I can't control, because if I can't control it, ain't no sense worrying about it. And I think that's how this is. Our job is to do the best we can every day. I haven't had the benefit of hearing your previous conversation, but to me, our job is to do the best we can every day in making things continue to function. It is to still take care of the people in our lives who matter to us. A friend of mine who is a very faithful person, a devout Catholic, said to me the other day that she thought that she had her own thoughts about what God was trying to do with all this. So, okay, I'll play along. I said, what do you think he's trying to do, or she? And she said, among other things, that maybe this is a message to remember how interconnected we are, how important it is that we have to take care of each other. And I said, could he possibly do it and be a little bit less of a drama queen? Because this might be a little excessive, what's going on right now. But when this ends, and it will end, if we can remember how isolated we felt for a moment, and then what we were able to, with intentionality, do to stay connected. And if we were to remember the sense of responsibility to and for each other, then on the other end of it, maybe it would have been a lesson well learned. Did I answer your question, and did I kill the segment?
No, it was beautiful. You're right on point. And I think you saw a whole bunch of heads nod right as you were hitting the nail on the head. And I'm sure that's true of the entire room. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So do we have some more questions that Joe, are you kind of running the show? Did Ken step aside for a minute?
Yeah, Ken stepped away for a little bit, but unfortunately I can't grab a comment and go through. So we get a lot of "I love you, Brad." Wow, Brad. Wow, Brad. So you are a loved individual. I'll just throw that out there. So we got another one says, "It's a reset button. It's time to reset to better." So but no, I mean, there's a whole bunch of people in here. I want to throw out another point. I did a video today about, again, looking at what we're trying to, what's happening, and everybody's saying, "Oh my gosh, this is happening," instead of changing it to, "I get to do this," right? So I get to have, if something goes down and I got to go stay home for 2 weeks, I get to stay home for 2 weeks. We all have this to-do list that we kept telling ourselves, if I only had the time. If I only had the time to do this, right? If I'd learn another language if I had 2 weeks to myself to just sit here and do this. Now there's a threat that you may have 2 weeks to get something done. And we're like, oh no, I need to go to the job that I complain about every day. I need to go do all this other stuff. And the answer is no, you get a chance to do what you want to do. If the answer is, I was talking today, so I do another sales call on Wednesdays where I have people log on to a Zoom meeting with me. And I told them, I said, how many of you said, if I had time to do an online course, I would do it? But I'm so busy at work and I'm so busy at this. And if I was able to do this, wouldn't my life be better? And now we're getting the potential of getting that time that we all requested, right? We all asked for it and we sat there saying, if I could. And then now it's like, hey, you're going to have to put your money where your mouth is, right? Now jump online, buy this course, go learn how to be online with Ken, right? Because he's always got a great course on teaching you to be an influencer. But again, we're going into something that's a little different, a little uncertain. And so the answer is find out what you get to do as opposed to what you have to do that's there. And then I sent something to Ken earlier and I wanted to read it out there to you. My friend Kimberly Slavic put it up there, said, when this is over, may we never again take for granted a handshake with a stranger, full shelves at the store, conversations with neighbors, a crowded theater, a Friday night out, the taste of communion, a routine checkup at the doctor's, the school rush out of the house each morning with the kids, right? Coffee with a friend or iced tea, okay? The stadium roaring while you're there, right? Each deep breath we get to take, a boring Tuesday, and life itself, right? When this ends, may we find that we have become more like the people we wanted to be, we were called to be, and we hope to be, and may we stay that way, which is better for each other because of the worst we just went through.
Hear, hear.
Wow.
Well said, Joe. Well said.
That was
I'll post it on my Facebook. It's a picture, but
Joe, if I may, the real test will be of our centeredness when that 2 weeks turns into 3 months.
Cool.
Because that's what's going to happen in all likelihood. So we have to, I think it's important for each person to be able to be in touch with the fundamental things important in their lives and resolve that they will be able to carry forward for however long it takes. We don't know, nobody knows, but the science would seem to indicate it's not going to be 2 weeks. Now, if it is 2 weeks, then that's a vacation that most people never take. This is probably going to be more than that. And so the real test, I think, of whether we're accepting this, this, as you put it before, this gift that we have been given, the trick is to look at it as a gift. It's the steroids version of waking up and seeing that it's pouring rain and saying, thank you, God, for this beautiful weather, and mean it. And so this, when the 2 weeks is over and there's still no restaurants open and we're looking at things being pushed further down the road, then the responsibility will be to not say, wait, I thought it was only going to be 2 weeks and now I'm going out of my mind. And now what do I do? It'll be a challenge. And that's probably why they call it spiritual work. But I don't think it lessens the importance or the impact of it.
So I want to address the gorgeous Pam comment of what do you got to do when you have no money and do this, right? Even on our worst day, it's still better than a lot of these third world countries that are out there. And I'm going to tell you right now that I go through all this stuff and say, hey, you know what? There's a chance we can make some money. How? You could go be a seller on Fiverr, okay, Fiverr, and all that is a connection, or Upwork, right? It's a connection to somebody overseas or somebody online to do work for you. Why can't you do work? Right? They pay amounts of money for somebody to transcribe a video and send back a document. Right? Can't we all just sit here with our laptop and go bink, 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 this is what they said, this is what they said, and do it? If you look halfway decent, guess what you can do? You can stand in front of a green screen, or you can stand in front of your camera and do testimonial videos for people. They pay for that. Right? They'll pay for a lot of activities that aren't necessarily completely technical involved, where if it says, I want to build a website, you go that way to Ken. Okay. Don't come to me. I'm going to laugh at you. But if you want somebody to do a testimonial video, goes, hey, Christopher had a great and put it on there, then I can get out there and do that. I can do a voiceover. I can do other stuff that's out there. And Bob Donnell, who's not here anymore, and we have a pale imitation of Bill Janacek. But with Bob always said it's not about the resources. It's about your ability to be resourceful.
Huge.
And so stop thinking that you have to do something. If we can't go outside, do something that only has to be done inside. Okay. And so there's things we can do to generate income online, because there's everybody that's in every other country is selling activities and labor to the United States via these websites to say, okay, great. Because if it costs me $10 to get artwork done, because if I'm halfway decent with Photoshop or Adobe, right, I can go in there and create something. Well, I'm paying $10 to a guy where $10 is like 100 if it was over here. And I'm going, woo, $10, get it done. Okay. But do you want your $10? Are you willing to work for the $10? Or am I just going to sit back and go, well, that's not what I want to do. And it's I understand what you want or don't want, but let's focus on the end result, which is, do you want to get paid? Yes. Then you'll do something to get paid.
The other thing, Joe, is
Bill, this is Brad. Real quickly, let me introduce, because I want to hear what you're saying. Bill, Brad, Joe, Brad, and Ken and Chris. Joe and Bill and Chris are friends of mine from Southern California. Very, very wise gentlemen. And Ken, equally wise and brand new in my life, but what a sweetheart of a dude. And he lives in Columbus, Ohio. Anyway, Bill, you got the floor, brother. What's up?
I was just going to say, one of the things that we do is to piggyback on what Joe was saying about being resourceful. This is not something to go through, but it's something to grow through. And why not start thinking out of the box? Just like Joe was saying, that maybe you go on Fiverr, maybe you do that something. Maybe you go old school and you start mowing lawns. You start doing.
We can't go outside.
Do what?
We can't go outside. We can't mow the lawn.
Oh, you can still mow your lawn.
Okay.
But the other thing is you might do some co-ops with some people. So you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. And Glenn put it perfectly. He said, this is the first thing that we are uniquely not going through by ourselves. This is a world problem. So there's many, many, many people just like you. Maybe you do a co-op. You can't afford, rent. Maybe you follow around and they're giving rent relief. Maybe you look to your basic needs, and you might go back and say what's really relevant and what are really basic needs rather than some wants for a little while till you grow through this. My 2 cents.
I like
Beautiful.
Athena's comment where her husband is playing video games and farming for supplies and then sells them to the people that are playing the video game.
Nice. Athena is one of my students, and she was on with us last night, very resourceful. Alan Skidmore, and this goes back a while ago, but Alan Skidmore made a comment about 15 minutes ago that I'm just now seeing. Dear friend from West Virginia said, I see this forced downtime as a great opportunity to slow down and get back in touch with who we are. Our society is just go, go, go. Use this unexpected gift of time to think, meditate, and determine where you should focus next. Maybe it is time to reinvent yourself. We all need to reboot once in a while.
Yeah.
So
And collect toilet paper.
Big
True.
time.
Don't forget to collect toilet paper.
I got the opportunity to spend about 3 days with the famous Les Brown, get hungry. And I think about times like
Hungry.
this. Get hungry. Amazing Les Brown.
AWW. Come on.
Yeah. Me and Les talked for 45 minutes about my bandana and my cursing. And I said, Les, you're not going to change me. He goes, boy, if you wear a suit, I'm going to put you on my stages. And I'm like, I'm not going to wear a suit. I already did that stuff. But anyways, you got to get hungry. You got to get resourceful. This is a time of, like I was saying last night, your character is shown in times of turmoil, not when things are going great. It's in times of turmoil that your character is shown and your leadership prowess comes to avail. Like, getting creative. Like I was telling somebody the other day, I said, just off the top of my head, I said, go stand at a gas station with some Windex and paper towels and offer to wash people's windows for $2 a thing. Go take your lawnmower and walk around and offer to mow people's lawns for $10. Whatever it might be, capitalize on that compound revenue. Go drive for Uber, go deliver groceries, things. But the big thing that I was talking about with a client of mine just today is that you take your natural gift. You take your natural gift, whether it's sewing, singing, baking, whatever it is, and you go out there and give that to other people and you share that. It's amazing. It's amazing what you can do, but it has to start with the mindset. Your mindset is the most important factor in all of this. Like when you wake up in the morning, like what Glenn was saying, I can attest to what Glenn was saying about gratitude because I follow Glenn and I'm mentored by Glenn. And I started doing that at the first 10 minutes in the morning. I'm like, in gratitude, I wake up, instead of waking up and saying, oh shit, I got to do this. Oh my God, this is going to be, I'm like, first 10 minutes in gratitude. And I tell you what, it makes your day so much fundamentally better. But once upon a time, I had to get this on my arm. What doesn't kill me only makes me stronger. I've been through a lot. I've been homeless. I've had a gun put to my head. I've tried to commit suicide twice. And fortunately, I sucked at it. I mean, I had a lot of things go on in my life.
And how long did you live in your car? You said 4 years?
4 years. 4 years. Yeah. Dropped out of school, 7th grade dropout, lived on the streets. I mean, carjacked, drugs, alcohol, all sorts of different stuff. So I had to put this on my arm probably about 5-10 years ago, after all that stuff goes on. And it's similar to another tattoo I have, which is comedy and tragedy, which illustrates the fact that when the good times are good, embrace those and enjoy those because times are going to get bad. Times are going to get tough. But when those times are tough, you have to know that they're going to get better again. I mean, there's all these different cycles. And when you focus your mindset on like, what do I have to get out of this? What do I have to learn from this? I shared last night, I've been reading a bunch of books like The Untethered Soul and The Surrender Experiment and Why Me, This, Why Now, all these different books to expose my own theory, my own logic about why we're here and what we're doing. If you're here to be learning a lesson, most often people, at least coaching clients I've dealt with, they're running away from the things that they're supposed to be running towards. So this is a great opportunity to reboot yourself, to invest that time. I was given the same advice earlier, what you were saying about hobbies. I told somebody, I said, you've been bitching about the fact that you don't have time to play guitar. I said, now you can go on YouTube and learn how to play guitar. And in 3 weeks, you're going to be freaking way better. Stop looking at what you don't have and start looking at what you do have. But really, it's just about getting hungry. You guys have to get out there and just get vicious. Don't sit there and wait and sit there and go, oh, okay, well, I'm going to get $1,000 check from the government. Get out there and get hungry. Show your kids. Lead by example. Get a lemonade stand. Whatever it is that well, actually, lemonade probably wouldn't be a good idea. Forget that idea. But think about what you can do creatively, what you can build with your hands, what you could sell and offer up, different things. Get creative. I was talking to somebody the other day. I said, why don't you quit your cable bill? I said, what's your cable? Like $150? Oh no, that's the only thing we have right now. I'm like, no, you don't. You have conversations, you have board games, you have things that you can strategize to make your life better. You can actually communicate, sing songs together, whatever it is. But I just wanted to share that because it's helped quite a few people in redirecting their thought pattern into, yes, this is going to suck. It's not going to be pretty, but once you get through it, you could be one of two people. You could be the person that's sitting there going, wow, oh my God, geez. And you have the other person, you could be the other person who's like, man, I'm so grateful for that. Now I have a new mindset. I have a new outlook on life. And that's what really truly makes people fulfilled and successful in life, at least for the people I've helped.
I had a friend to express, thank you, Chris, for that. I had a buddy last night, my buddy Earl Browning, who said that he watched last night and he asked if we could address He said it was beautiful and he loved it. He said, and also, I think you guys would be doing a really good service to offer your thoughts about the physical aspect of what we're facing and some of that, so that it's not only a discussion about mindset, which of course I have a leaning toward that. And so I promised him that I would. And I'd like to invite us to just slightly gear shift for a couple of minutes about some of the protocols that we have been asked to follow and the importance of that, because I think I'm speaking, I've yet to meet a person, so I do think I'm speaking for everyone. I've spoken with a lot of people. A lot of people write to me. A lot of people email or text me. People on the street, albeit at a respectful distance. I have not run into someone who has said, you know, I'm hoping we can get this to last as long as possible. I haven't met that person.
Right.
So everyone is interested in this wrapping up, and we have a role in that. We do have a role in that.
Yeah.
And that is to be mindful of not giving it permission. Let's not be its facilitators to the extent that we can avoid being that. You know, I understand there are the basics that we all have to do with groceries and whatnot, but it could be that it's just time to change gears. That's all. And that's not a bad thing, but it's still a thing. And it may be a thing of necessity in order for this period to be as brief as it can be. And I agree with you, Brad. I don't think we're looking at brief, but how about this expression? How about less lengthy, right? So I'm a fan of less lengthy. And if we're down for a month, so be it. But if we don't behave and if we don't shift gears, which we're being invited to do, then we will be responsible for elongating this. So let's play our role. Let's play it responsibly. And let's not assume that it's nothing, because if it were nothing, I don't think it would be killing people. This is not said to scare anybody, but it's not nothing. And we know it's not nothing because I got to believe if we were saying, no, it's not a big deal, it's not a big deal, it's nothing, trust me, when they shut down Las Vegas, it's something. That's when, for me, I mean, I was already aboard ship that it was very real, but there are people that run these casinos that will do anything. These are buildings that are in the business of being open 24/7, 365. They don't close. That's not what they do. They don't close ever. And yet they're closed. Might that get our attention? And you could say it's an overreaction, and some do. But personally, I would be a fan of us erring on the side of caution and not being stupid or not being mindless and just blowing off the seriousness of it. And we just sit and watch this storm get bigger and bigger and bigger because we were indifferent to it. And that's what Earl invited me to talk about. And I assured him I would. And I certainly welcome you gentlemen's thoughts on that, because I'm sure people were wondering, are they going to talk about what are our physical responsibilities? What can we do to feel like we are coming from a societal mindset and to protect not only ourselves, but our brothers and sisters?
Yeah, Las Vegas isn't the only one, by the way.
Broadway also, I know.
Broadway
and ball games.
There's a couple of dollars involved in the NCAA basketball tournament.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple of dollars involved in the start of the Major League Baseball season.
Yeah.
I'm aware, Brad. You know I'm aware.
I know. I know you're aware, but I'm saying that when these things, for all of those of us who, even some of us who said, okay, I believe you, I hear you, it's important, but I'm still going to go over here and do this because I'm just one person and it won't really be a big problem. And then when all of these things start to happen, and as you said, Glenn, Las Vegas doesn't close. So if someone decided Las Vegas is closing, maybe somebody knows something that we don't. And I don't see that we have a choice but to do exactly what you said, play our part. Play our part.
Right.
And that's a good part. That's a really important part. It seems stupid on its face. It's antithetical to the way a lot of us live our lives. But that's our role for now, because the alternative is not good.
Right. And I don't think that in any way, shape, or form makes us sheeple, which is a term that floats around in the speaker world at all. I believe it's just called being mindful of a current situation that is very, very serious. And it is interesting that we're not without March Madness. We've just altered what version of March Madness we're having.
We got March Madness. I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something I have thought about, which is along the line, the other end of that very long street, the end of which we can't see. I hope we are all able to be mindful while we are, like Joe, in the thing you read that was so great, and it talked about never again taking for granted a handshake or a hug. And I hope that societally we don't get to the point, with however long this lasts, that we forget the other side of the coin, which is the importance of those things once we are able to resume them. I still think that's an important part of the way we want to live, but we just have to be smart about it for now.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Bill Janicek, what do you say about it? Have you had a change of heart yet?
Have I had a change of heart?
I'm just kidding. Like
flu.
When we talked the other night, Dr. Bill, I said, Dr. Bill, what do you think about this virus and everybody freaking out about it? And what was your comment?
It's the flu.
It's the flu.
It's the flu.
And is it spreading more rapidly? Is it more deadly than any other strand of flu?
Some strands, some not. And again, it's more the panic than anything else. But that's really beside the point, because where we're at now is where we're at now. And,
right.
And Glenn made when we did our interview yesterday, we talked about, and Glenn said, where we are, whether we like it or not, let's take one for the team. So I have no reason to be quarantined, anything else, but I'm doing the right thing. Now, Glenn, you wanted a little bit more about the physical things that we can do.
Yeah.
And it depends on where you're at. So if you are elderly, if you're immunosuppressed, if you're an infant, you take all the precautions that you can and listen to your medical provider, because they're looking for you. And if you're in those categories, you're probably not the best
target
of health. And if you're not the best of health, you need help there. So do whatever. If you're on medication, continue taking your medication. Still get out the best you can. Get in the sunshine. Breathe some air. Have some social values. Meditate, pray, whatever you want to do. Eat real food. And real food is something that you can either grow or kill. And when you do that, and something that will rot. If you are not, don't eat things out of a package. I don't think we're there to that starving point yet where we're eating astronaut food. But those things are all going to boost your immune system. They're going to keep you healthy, and they're going to keep you in a healthy state. Those that are better off and a little bit more healthier, get some extra, do everything that Dr. Google tells you that you should do. Go out, make sure you're everything from eating food to exercising to healthy bowel movements to great sleep to everything else. It keeps you healthy. If you need something else to boost your immune system on that, chiropractic adjustments are awesome for building the immune system. I was talking to my naturopath buddy today, and in Germany, if you feel you want something prophylactic, they were using what's called protease, which is a proteolytic enzyme which breaks down the protein. And they were using that to treat in Germany, and the proteins break down. The virus has little feet on it, and that's what attaches to the lungs. And it's the protease, if you take it in between meals, not on a full stomach, but in between meals, will help break that down. So you can get some, if you get it, it'll help get you over it. If you don't have it, it's going to help with that. I have an acupuncturist who is in contact with people and how they were treating it, the herbs in China. And forgive me, I'm putting together some interviews so I can get these, so I don't have exactly what that is. But as soon as I find out what their secrets are, I'll pass them on to you guys, and you can have at it. That's about it. Get some rest. Don't stress out. Chill out. Sleep. So it's really basic in this sense.
I'm sitting here eating some fruit.
Attaboy.
And it'll rot.
Attaboy. Attaboy.
I'm eating some potato chips that are very healthy.
Ken, can you scroll? Ken, can you scroll and see if anything?
There's a really great question over there on the right, about the middle of the board.
What is it? By who?
Me.
By you? Oh, geez. Are chiropractors a real doctor? Is a chiropractor a real doctor? Wow.
Wait, survey says?
Yes.
Dr. Bill is one of those fancy people that has all these flipping degrees. He's like a thermometer. He's got so many degrees.
I'll tell you,
More than Kevin Bacon.
I blew out some discs I blew out discs in my back years ago, and went to a what do they call the back surgery doctors?
Orthopedic?
Real doctors?
I went to an orthopedic surgeon, and he said, "You're too young to have surgery." I was 21, I think. He said, "Go see," and he handed me a card to a chiropractor and said, "Go see her. She will take care of you." And I went to this woman and walked out a new man and never had a problem again. So
that happened to me at 14.
Was this in Vegas? Was this in Vegas?
Oh my God.
Sorry.
I had back surgery last year. It wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Never in. It's not a good
Sorry,
hobby.
Glenn. I'm going to go ahead and flag myself on that one.
Oh, good. Are you gonna re-enter the room?
Gonna re-enter the room.
Yeah, here, let me help. Let me help. There. I help.
He's literally going to re-enter the room. He not only re-entered the room,
each other.
He re-entered from a different door.
Yes.
Did you
Bill,
take the blue pill
let
or
that
the
go.
red pill?
By the way, I think it's time for a quick joke.
Let's hear one.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Bring it.
Sure.
So, what is the difference? And you've got to be able, when you tell this joke, you've got to be able to tell it in an Australian dialect. So, what is the difference between a buffalo and a bison?
The way they taste.
You can't
not
wash.
sure.
You can't wash your hands in a buffalo.
Nice, because it's a bison.
It's a bison.
Oh,
It's a bison.
Because of the accent.
That's
threw
right.
it all
But
off.
if you don't tell the joke correctly, if you don't give it the accent, then the joke goes right down the toilet. So you've got to be able to sound like this. If you tell that joke and sound like this, it goes all to hell.
No, but I think you should count in Texan for us.
oh yeah.
All right, here we go.
That's a good
Hey,
one.
Brad's going to hear this and go, "Yeah, what's your point?"
Right. He's like, it sounded normal. Yeah.
He lives here in the same city I do. But for those that don't, just repeat after me, and we're going to teach you how to count in Texan. Ready? 1, right? And you stick your jaw a little bit. 1, and then 2,
2,
and then 3.
3,
And the next one is 2 syllables. It's not 4,
4.
it's 4.
4.
And back of the throat, 5.
5.
My favorite one, 6. It's got that little whistle on it. 6. Right. And then the next one, we completely removed the letter V from this number. There was a march on Austin in the late 50s, and they got rid of the letter V, and it's pronounced and spelled in Texas SEBM, and it's pronounced 7.
7.
And then back of the throat, 8. And then 9. And then 10, 2 syllables, which rhymes, by the way, with Glenn. How's that for corny?
Bravo.
I'm going to tell you, in my trainings that I do in my sales training, there's a video that always gets put in, and everybody needs to jump over to YouTube, type in Glenn Morshower, right? And it's what is it?
The Texas 10. Funk. I call it the Texas 10.
No, Uptown Funk.
Oh yeah, that's pretty wild.
That's brilliant.
That one is priceless because Glenn nails every word on the lip sync like nobody's business, and White Boy got some moves.
Well, it is thought by the masses that when you're 60 and Caucasian, you should have a 0 funk factor.
True that.
And I have an elevated funk factor, much like my brother Chris Roush.
Hell yeah! Break it up, baby.
I spoke at an event with Chris, and he donned my bald head with one of his kerchiefs. It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, love it. You came up to me like, give me one of those things. I was like, oh yeah, Glenn's kick ass. Hell yeah.
So are there any other things about what we can be doing right now to play our part to show up in a way that best facilitates the likelihood of this moving on through? Plainly and simply put, moving on through, so that at some point in the not too distant future, we can eyeball this thing where it belongs, which is in the rearview mirror. But it isn't in the rearview mirror yet. So we can hold that as our mindset template and then be taking the appropriate actionable steps to facilitate that outcome as speedily as is humanly possible.
Yes.
I believe so. I'm actually, I just, even just listening to you guys, it's just been impactful for me, obviously being, in the business of personal development and personal growth all my entire life, having to survive to get out of that and to become where I'm at today as a speaker and a coach and everything else. Just listening to you guys and your perspectives, it just further emphasizes the fact that when you surround yourself, A, by great people, and B, by great content, you can't help but stay inspired and continue to pay that forward and to be a bright light in everybody else's life. I've taught my son Jackson, I say to hi to everybody, and I got that from Glenn probably. I don't know if I did it before, but I literally say hi to everybody. And I know my looks are sometimes intimidating. I come off like the biker guy, but you go and say hi to everybody and you make a difference in their life. You make them smile and you give and you do those things. You will get through this and you will look back at that and you will look back at this time and say, thank God it happened. I mean, most of the people that I've coached through my life who have come to me when they're down and they're like, oh my God, this is the worst point of my life. I tell them literally, you're going to look back on this and be so grateful this happened. Whether you got divorced, you found out your wife was cheating on you, you got fired from a company, your business went bankrupt, how many different people I've helped, every single one of them, including me, when people ask me, I was just interviewed on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and the guy says, do you wish you had a normal childhood? And I'm like, fuck no. If I had a normal childhood, I mean, I was smoking pot and fighting in the 7th grade. God knows where I'd be. I'd probably be dead or in jail. So yeah, I had
what's a normal childhood?
Right.
What that is.
What was that?
You went from getting high to saying hi.
Yeah.
Wow.
Book title. That's a book title. Fuck, I don't like that. Thank you.
No, Brad said, what's a normal childhood, right?
What's a normal childhood? Who decides what that is? That's part of the problem. Part of the problem is that we either tend to think that we are the only ones who have or have ever had the problems that we are enduring, and that's false. Or we tend to think that where we skew what is supposed to be. Who decides what's supposed to be? Who decides what's normal? Chris, you may be the most normal one in the entire bunch. Who knows?
Right. Guys,
that would be crazy.
My little girl come in here earlier, my 9-year-old, and I said to her, I don't know, it was a while back, a few months ago. She said something, and I said, honey, don't say that. That's not a word. And I forget what it was now. And she goes, Daddy, I said, yeah. And she said, who makes words? I go, people do. And she goes, well, I'm a people, and I just made a word.
And it's a word.
I said,
Here,
right
here.
on.
Kids are brilliant. Kids
I
are
know.
The word was chiropractor. I just want to throw it out there, though.
Geez,
That's
leave
what it
Bill
was.
alone,
It was not
man.
right. Yeah.
Here, he's got to come back again.
I really, I gotta say, I really bless all of our abnormal lives. I don't look at you guys and see people with normal lives. I think you have extraordinary lives. And I think that those lives come as a result of triumph over many things. That triumph is what opens the floodgates to have the life you dream of. You've got to have some sort of adversarial something. And instead of pissing and moaning about the conditions, the adversarial conditions, I think that you have to think, what fares well in adversarial times? And the visual that I've always used is that of a kite, because a kite absolutely loves adversarial winds. It thrives in them, right? So instead of bitching and moaning, the kite goes, bring it. Right. And so we can go to that kite mentality, but I have no desire to live a normal life, whatever that is. And I did have an abnormal childhood, and I'm now having an abnormal adulthood, and it's been intentionally abnormal and joyously abnormal.
I think that if, as everybody here knows, except for maybe Brad, I have 17 and a half years of recovery and sobriety. And I learned along the way.
Don't clap, Chris. He's going to tell us not to clap.
Yeah, don't clap. It's a gift from God, and I that's the way I see it. And I took a lot of action to get there, but I can tell you that, when I in early sobriety, and probably still today, there are times when I become very self-focused, very self-centered, very self-absorbed, and my favorite song is that Willie Nelson song, "I Am Always on My Mind." And somebody taught me a long time ago, dude, get out of yourself.
Dude, you hit that. Glenn's writing that stuff down. It's going in the next talk.
Oh my God, that is brilliant.
Right. I'm not much, but I'm all
I think about. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like if you want to, like, when people watching this, like if us six were just sitting here and there wasn't a live audience watching or replay viewers watching, we would sit here and we would pump each other up. And if I said, man, I'm just freaked out about all this, you guys would go into action and you would say, you'd start hitting me with positives and reasons to be positive and bring the conversation up. People watching this are having those phone calls and discussions on a daily basis, right? So when somebody starts getting all negative, like Joe, when Joe gets negative on Bill, I remove him. Like, you just remove them from your conversation.
You just move to California.
No, but like, you've got to either bring
just the conversation. Cancel.
You got to bring the conversation up, or you remove yourself from the conversation. You cannot have a positive life with a negative attitude. It's not possible. So that, get out of yourself. Go help somebody else. Make those phone calls. Go check on. My wife went and picked up dinner for us tonight, and I said, "Wow, that was a bit pricey." I saw the receipt, and she goes, "Oh, I thought we have a next door neighbor that's 78 years old, and his wife is, and amazing people, good friends of ours." And she said, "Oh, I picked up dinner for the neighbors too. I left it on the front porch, rang the doorbell, ran out to the front of the yard and waited on them to come to the door and said, 'I got you dinner.'" So that, and it wasn't a lot of money, but it's just doing something for somebody else, getting the hell out of your own self and sorrow.
And they teach that in program, is that there's no quicker way to resolve whatever feeling sorry for yourself issues you have than to be of service.
That's it.
Right? Just move into being of service to someone, and how quickly that obsession with your own issues goes away.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
this is a terrific time to be of service, because frankly, there are a lot of people with needs right now.
And then
yes,
make it a lifestyle.
And it proves opposites attract, because she's really good people.
You know, I have always, gentlemen, if I can share just a thought that's always been with me since I was probably about that time, with that story I told you at age 14. And that is, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Amen.
I really believe that. And I feel like my wheelbarrow of capabilities was rolled into my life in such a beautiful way that it is my responsibility to be mindful of it and responsible to it, and to treat it with love and with reverence, and to connect with my fellow man and inspire when I can, and help when I can, and connect when I can, and whatever it is, just to be present and be there for the team. This is the second night in a row that this has proven to be such a fantastic alternative to CNN. I would so much rather be either a member of this team or somebody watching it. And as it is, I'm both, because I'm sitting here watching you guys exactly as any viewer would watch it. So we're not sitting off in a room doing this somewhere. We're actually having the same experience that a viewer is, except that we speak up and get to be heard and seen while speaking. But I'm looking at you guys, I'm valuing you, I'm cherishing you. I have friendships with each of you, the newest one being Ken, and I take none of that for granted. Zig Ziglar's book on quotes, love it.
His little book of big quotes. And I want to point this out, because as you're talking about this right here. You're talking about that quote. If you can't,
can you read it?
Yeah, it says, you can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. And I'm friends with all three of Zig's kids, and Julie Ziegler's a client of mine. I love those people dearly. They live what their dad taught. And what you're talking about is, you cannot give back to the world. It's a spiritual principle. You cannot give back and help other people and not receive something back in return.
Can I offer a yes and on that?
Yes, please.
So I agree with you. And I would add this: make sure you check your motive.
Absolutely.
Because if you think you will be successful in manipulating the cosmos, let me save you time right now and let you know that will be unsuccessful.
Amen.
So, for example, if the only motive I hold for helping someone is because of what I know I can get back, then I'm now trying to manipulate a system which will not be manipulated by me nor anyone. Nobody. So if I recognize the spiritual principle, so I do agree with you. I'm just adding this one caveat that we need to consider is we want to check our motive and make sure that we would do it regardless of the outcome, because it feels like the correct thing to do. It's best when we realize that these are what I call spiritual byproducts, but they are not the goal. The goal is not to see what I can get for what I give, but to recognize that that is indeed spiritual principle. And my role is to show up from a giving nature, because to whom much is given, much is expected. And the other really falls in line with the spiritual boomerang. I don't need to supervise what a boomerang does. I know that my job is to sign it with love and hurl it into the sky. I do not stand there and insist that it hastily come about and land back in my hands. I'm too busy going on to the next opportunity to sign that love boomerang. This is a spiritual principle I've been teaching for years, is get on to the next boomerang. Sign it with love and send it into the sky. Ignore it. Go to the next one. Sign it with love. Throw it into the sky, so that your way of life is always caught being of service. Frankly, when I do make my exit, whenever that is, I pray to God that it will end with me being of service. to someone in some capacity, or that it will not have been too terribly long since I last was able to serve someone.
Yeah.
I believe very strongly in that. And then what happens is you're compiling these boomerangs that are floating around in the cosmos that after a while start slapping you upside of the head. They don't hurt. They feel fantastic.
Yeah.
Because they're popping you in the noggin with love. By the way, popping you in the noggin, that's a Texas saying. So it pops you in the noggin with love, and you roll around and you go, where did that? Oh my God, that's in connection with an event from 4 years ago. And I've long since forgotten about it. So what we don't want to do is sit and keep score about what our deposits of goodness are. Just keep depositing goodness and trust the process.
Amen.
But you don't need to micromanage that stuff. It is being beautifully supervised.
Yep. Karma is real.
Glenn. Beautiful.
Yeah. And look at this comment. Do you guys see it?
Yeah. Look
nice. Well done, Brad.
Profound.
Thank you, Tristan.
That's
I
awesome.
remember what I said, but thank you.
It's so funny. Everybody has a problem with their spell check because they changed Joe to Brad. They changed guys. They changed guys to Joe. It's really weird. I don't understand.
Oh my God.
Yeah, actually, Brad, Tristan, I don't know if you remember, but Tristan is one of my students.
Oh, I do. And, I just don't remember what I said, but I remember Tristan.
Well, we're not able to measure the amount of goodness you brought to our school. You said so many things that changed so many young lives, and you're a mensch. You're a mensch.
Thank you.
Now you and I will have to explain to them what a mensch is.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what is that?
I'm going to let you. That's a good guy.
No, come on. Within
not
Judaism, and I was raised Jewish, a mensch is, just intrinsic goodness. You're a good dude. You're a mensch. You're doing the right thing. And people look up to people that are a mensch. And Brad has been a consistent mensch since the day I met him, not only in my life, but I watch the capacity in which he shows up in the lives of others. Rob Donnell just said Brad is a wealth of wisdom. Do you see that on the right of the screen there, Bob? Or Brad?
Bob's been drinking again.
So,
he couldn't spell mensch. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I think that there is an issue here of self-esteem and of self-worth that is generated largely by the manner in which we know, because we can't bullshit that, the manner in which we know we are actually showing up, not the perceived manner in which, but the way we really know in our deepest heart of hearts that we are showing up. And we form self-esteem around that. We form deservedness around that.
Yeah.
People, if they don't really feel like they deserve something, there are reasons for that. And you can actually give yourself reasons to feel good if you simply stop and dwell on the truth. I said last night that one of the primary practices in metaphysics is to remind ourselves and others of the truth and to remember the truth. We don't have to go learn it. We just need to remember it. And one of the central truths we're being asked to remember, frankly, right now, is how connected we are, because we've been living life as though we weren't. I say we, meaning as a human race.
Yeah.
I'm not referring to specific people, and certainly no one really on this panel that I can think of, because you guys are very connected people. But as a human race, I think there's been a lot of disconnection, and now we're being borderline forced into a deeper understanding of the importance of oneness.
Yeah, and I think it's more than just connection. And I know this is a little repetitive, but I really think that one of the lessons we are being given the opportunity to remember is that we're not only connected, we're responsible for each other.
Yes.
Amen.
The whole idea that social distancing, anybody else sick of the word social distancing?
Yes.
But that whole concept is a reminder that I'm fine and Glenn's fine, but maybe we have something we don't know we have, and if we come into contact with Ken, maybe Ken won't be fine, and it'll be one of our responsibilities, and we won't know it. And so that's right now. That's in the middle of this pandemic, which we don't understand. But what we do understand is that the thing really spreads fast, and so we are not only connected to each other, we're responsible for one another. Now, when this is over, and Tristan put up something that I said when I came to speak to your class that day that reminded me what I said. Thank you, Tristan. And it's true. You never know the end of a story while you're standing in the middle of it. But we don't know the end of this story. We're right in the middle of it. We're not even in the middle of it. We're just in the middle of the first chapter. Okay, so it's got to play out. And we have a part in the way that it plays out, and let it be that one of the things we take from all this is that when the health issue that is gripping the world right now is lessened and is not impacting our lives in the way it is, let us still remember we're responsible for each other. We are supposed to take, it's in every version of the Bible I've ever seen. We are our brother's keeper. We're responsible. Ken, your wife understood that you're responsible to help those people next door. Who that's what we're supposed to do. And when we forget that, that's when we get off the path and into the woods and into the mud, and things get screwy. And if everybody remembers that we are connected and we are responsible to each other, if not for each other, we're certainly responsible to each other. We expect people to behave in ways that will not hurt us. Well, why would we not behave in ways that won't hurt somebody else? And so right now we're in the middle of something that someone says, okay, well, if you go to the movies, then that might hurt somebody. Okay, well, I don't get it, but I'm going to have to trust you on this one for right now. So, okay, we'll do this. I'll empty my DVR. I'll read a book. I'll unpack the boxes. I will meditate on my reason for being here. And that can't be, no matter how difficult it is and no matter how long it takes, that can't be anything but beneficial in the long run.
No question. Hey, Brad, can you actually share where that story came from? The story of you never know the end of the story.
Yeah, I mean, it's a teaching from there is an ancient, mostly Jewish discipline I study called Mussar, Mussar. It literally translates as a soul discipline or ethics, but it's so much more than that. It stems from a 16th century Lithuanian discipline that basically the essence of which is that the soul, each of us is a soul, and we are each comprised of several hundred traits. And if we can study and work on each of those traits one at a time, then ultimately the soul's job is to get as close to holiness as we can get it. Now, this is a little easier if you're of faith and believe in God, but I submit that if you don't believe in God and you still practice this stuff, the worst thing that will happen is that you'll be a better human being. And so one of the traits teachings is for patience. And by the way, when I came on, you were talking about gratitude, and that's one of the fundamental traits. The word in Hebrew is midah, and the plural is midot, and it's one of the fundamental midot, gratitude. And patience is another one, and patience is required to understand that the way things seem today are only the way they seem today. There's a whole panoply of things going on, and we don't know any of them yet. We only know today. But our tendency is to say, well, look at how this turned out. This is crap. Look how it hasn't turned out. Nothing's turned out. This is just where we are today. And so if you remember that you never know the outcome of a story when you're standing in the middle of it, then you won't act like things have happened to you.
Yeah, that is absolutely brilliant.
It's amazing.
Susan says, Ken, please put these on a series for others in the future to access. This is gold. Nothing like this anywhere. The world needs this. Oh,
Couldn't agree more. That's why we're doing it.
Yeah.
So,
And we are currently live on 4 Facebook pages, 2 YouTube channels, Periscope, Twitter, and Twitch.
hell
So
yeah.
these
And
aren't
there's
going
been-
anywhere.
Then there's been 35 shares
That's
out
just
to other networks.
that's just on
Just on Facebook.
that's just on my personal Facebook. Go over to the fan page Facebook, and there's probably even more. But I don't know, maybe not. But look, we have. I think Glenn. Have you had dinner tonight, Glenn?
You know the answer to that.
It was rhetorical. So
I have not.
I
We
was
are,
going to say, we got to get going.
Yeah,
We
we can say goodnight. We've been at it for 3 hours.
Hey
Yeah.
guys, thank you for inviting me in and letting me play in your sandbox. This was really meaningful.
Seeing you, Brad.
it's
Brad, great meeting you. Thanks
Yeah.
for
nice
sharing.
meeting you, Brad. And this is your sandbox as well as any of
Thank
ours. So
Thank
Just
Well,
wait for the link. Oh,
Appreciate it.
yeah. So you guys have been absolutely amazing. Everybody on here with all of their incredible questions and feedback has been just amazing. So
and I miss Bob.
I miss Bob too.
Yeah.
Bob,
He had a problem with something with the lighting on his phone. He texted me to let me know about that.
yeah.
We hope, if I can speak for the whole bunch, that there was one thing, maybe there were 2 or 3 things, maybe there were 10 things, but at least that there was one thing that was shared from a connected human heart tonight that has helped you, that has made a difference, that has potentially lightened your load, or at least reminded you of the central truth that you are not rowing this boat alone. That's certainly my hope. That's when I invited the group to get together in this capacity. This was certainly my vision. And I know that a lot of people have responded that it's really making a difference. So I'm really, really, really grateful. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Thank
Glenn.
you.
This has
Thank
been,
you all.
this has been
Thanks,
phenomenal.
Glenn Caldwell. And thanks, Glenn Morshaw.
So
Yeah.
all
Thank you,
right.
all you
Well,
guys.
hey, maybe we can do it again tomorrow or I mean, I'm always
I'm
game.
in.
I'm actually doing Bob Donnell's event.
Yeah.
He's doing that next level thing
Yep.
tomorrow night.
I'm available during the day tomorrow. So
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I don't know of anyone who's really doing a lot. So I'll check with
Let's
you
do
guys
it.
midday tomorrow.
that works.
But I am going to leave now because I'm ready to go get some dinner, and I love all of you, and thank you.
Thank
Love
you
you
guys.
guys. Be good.
You guys. All right. Bye-bye.
Peace.